deep left. Church at the wall. He's got it again. Up against the wall. Church and the Cardinals hang on and beat the Pirates. Unbelievable grab. The Redbirds don't walk the plank tonight in Pittsburgh.
That's what it sounded like last night on Cardinals TV.
Take two?
Yeah, let's start over. Play the whole thing again.
Can we take two?
He just hucked a
Can you do me
loogie
a
in the
favor,
middle of
T-Bone?
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. We've got to start over. We can't start that way.
I thought it was
All
great.
right, here.
All right, hold on.
We'll be right back. Let's try this one more time.
Cardinals hang on and beat the Pirates. Unbelievable grab. The Redbirds don't walk the plank tonight in Pittsburgh.
That's what it sounded like on Cardinals TV last night as they win in Pittsburgh 3 straight, going for the sweep today. Is there something better than a sweep? Winning 4 games in a row on the road against a team that you have traditionally had a lot of struggles with, that feels like even more than just a traditional sweep. That's what the Cardinals are going for in about 30 minutes. Alongside Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. Alex, I've got some intrusive thoughts to share today.
These are always good,
Yeah, boy.
especially after a win where Nathan Church robs the game-winning run.
Oh, that was so cool.
I know. You're going to tell us that Nathan Church deserves a 10-by-100 contract and is the starting center fielder for the Cardinals moving forward.
I'm not going to do that today, but I am going to ask you about the Cardinals. What if they're good? Not great, not done with the rebuilds, not one of the best teams in Major League Baseball. I'm not trying to overstate things, but they're 17-13. They've either been better or as good as basically every team that we have seen them face so far this year. And I know we've gone up against some of these teams where we're like, that team's not that good. Have you guys looked at what Tampa Bay has done this year?
Yeah, they've somehow been good.
They're like one of the best teams in the American League.
Apparently,
right now.
they forgot to do that in the first series of the season.
I know Seattle's record doesn't indicate that they're a great team, but they are starting to play better. They're back to 500 now after sweeping the Cardinals and then winning 2 out of 3 against the Twins. That's a team that's going to be there at the end. I'm pretty confident in that. Prior to meeting up with the Cardinals, the Pirates were a team that people like T-Bone were excited about. And now they are seemingly falling back down to earth because they've gone against what I believe is a better team in the St. Louis Cardinals. So what if this team is just pretty good? They've got flaws. They're pretty terrible in the bullpen right now. Their pitching, starting pitching-wise, is not great, but it's fine. Their offense is certainly better than any of us expected it to be. And when I say it's fine, that's better than most of Major League Baseball right now. Most of these teams are not very good. So what if this is an 85-ish win team, Alex? Like, am I getting way ahead of myself? Or, hey, we're almost 20% of the way into the regular season. Could this team just be better than we expected it to be?
I don't think you're getting ahead of yourself. I think it's not an intrusive thought. I think it's a thought that you should probably be having because we all assumed this team would be awful, and they're not awful. Going through the teams that they have beaten, I don't know if it's that they've beaten really good teams or just everybody is underperforming this season in Major League Baseball, which seems to be kind of the benchmark of this season right now. But I'm kind of in the same line of thinking that you are. It's not that they're a great team. It's not that I think this team could do damage and the rebuild is over. It's more, man, their offense is better than I thought, and it's going to give them chances to win baseball games. That's really what this comes down to, because as you just went through it, yeah, your bullpen is awful. Your starting pitching is fine, but more times than not, it's going to hinder you at different points of the season. But your offense all season long has found a way to pull you back into baseball games. So really, that's what you're saying. What if this offense is much better than we're talking about, and it's giving Cardinals chances to win every single night? And that, to me, is not signifying the rebuild is over, but it's signifying that the Cardinals are in a much better place in the start of a rebuild than most teams are when they do rebuilds.
They are better than expected, but they cannot win 85 games. They don't have the pitching to do it because you cannot rely on a full season for your offense to carry the load like it has been doing. At some point, the offense is going to cool off. And that's not saying that the offense is going to be bad, but you're not going to be constantly just thumping these teams like they've been doing here through the first month. And when that doesn't occur, then you have to rely on your pitching. And as we're seeing, their pitching's just not good enough. Their rotation's fine. I think the rotation might be able to hold up a little bit better than the bullpen. They just don't have anybody in the middle innings right now that they can rely upon. And every time they come in, whether it be Stanek, whether it be Brule, whether it be Swanson, or Soriano, who made things interesting last night, they're just always going to allow runs or make it interesting. And by that notion, the bullpen's going to be the thing that really haunts this team to prevent them from getting to 85 wins.
They can't win 85 games?
Not with the way they're constructed now.
You are definitive about that. You were saying it cannot happen.
Yeah.
So what are you willing to do if they win 85?
Well, he's already got to eat 2 chili dogs and do a calendar shoot.
We need to do that.
We're not forgetting about
Not
those.
those things.
Well, you're doing those.
Because that seems pretty definitive that you're saying, like, it is impossible. This team is not capable of winning 85 games. Seems a little crazy to me, but what are you willing to put on the line
I
here?
like it.
I'm willing to put $100 on the line.
Oh, I want in on that.
Deal. 2 years ago, the Cardinals won 83 games. Their pitching was awful, T-Bone. Awful.
I agree.
And they
their
won
offense was awful,
83
too.
games, and you're telling me this team couldn't win 2 more games than that?
Yes.
Than the team that we watched. We all saw it 2 years ago. Not a single soul in this room or listening to us right now believed in that team. And this team cannot get 2 games more than that one did, as they've already banked some of those in the early going this season.
Hitting last season for the Cardinals.
2023. This is the 2024 season. They won 83 games.
Did you say? Oh, I thought you said last season they won 84.
Their bullpen was really good that year. And I agree the rotation was nothing to write home about.
It was terrible.
It was not good, but their bullpen was the thing that kept them to be able to get to that mark. Their bullpen's not good enough, and they're not taking action on it right now to get to 85. I may change my tune if we start to see them start to really churn through this bullpen.
Okay. So you're leaving open the idea that they could get to 85 wins.
I would leave a slight crack in that door open,
You
but right
just
now
bet
I
us
would not do.
$100.
I'm not betting
No, you're
today.
not.
I would bet $100 they're not going to be an 85-win
But
team.
you can't say that they don't have enough pitching to get through. And, like, they have so much more pitching in terms of depth for arms than what they have in the past. For starting pitching-wise,
They don't right now.
they had 5 guys last
But
year,
the
and that was
season
it.
doesn't end today, T-Bone.
I know, but they don't have guys that are developed and close right now, right? Matthews isn't close.
Not for today, but
I
a
agree.
month from
They
now,
have
I
guys
think
last
that's
year.
very different.
I don't
We're
think they're going to
developing
be
it
there
all.
yet.
Or 2023 or
Their bullpen's not good
2024
enough.
or
Like,
20.
this is not an 85-win team. Yesterday was fun. I agree. You know what, Church? Great catch. Let's relax, St.
This
Louis.
is fun for me. I'm not
We're
him this time.
rebuilding, man. They're telling you with their actions they're rebuilding. They're not churning through
Agreed.
the bullpen.
I'm not saying not today.
Even with their actions telling you that they're rebuilding, they're still winning games.
Exactly.
Yeah. And it's the first month of the year.
Exactly.
You know what I say about the first month of the year?
This is
Weird-ish happens.
This is supposed.
Weird
Of all people,
happens,
you buy into
Brandon.
the Pirates every
No,
year.
No, not every year. Not every year.
Literally last
not
year.
every year. No. I have said this before. There is weirdish that happens in the first month of the season. Bad teams don't know that they're
Okay.
bad yet, and the
I'm gonna
Cardinals
pull the
fall
tape
into
out.
that.
Ladies,
gotta
let's
find
stop
it.
fighting here.
T-Bone last year tried to convince me that crap-ass Pirates team was going to be a potential playoff team. And now he's talking about the team that he gets to watch every night. And because he's closer to them, he's like, no, I see all of the flaws. All of the flaws are there for everybody to see. Yeah, they are. And the Pirates last year had all of those same flaws, but in reverse. They couldn't hit. You can't pitch. Guess what? 85-win teams are flawed. All of them. You know who couldn't hit last year? The Reds. You know who won 85 games? The Reds.
They did have elite pitching last year. the
Yes.
Reds.
Yeah, name an 85-win team that has bad pitching.
I bet you a couple of years, if I go back into the recent memory of baseball, I bet you I could find one.
I bet you
The
can.
Cardinals 2 years ago won 83,
That's not
and they had
85.
Hold on. I have a bigger problem right now.
Go for it.
T-Bone is taking the stance that I always take of saying that the Cardinals aren't good, and people are cheering him on right now. I get yelled at when I come on the air and say that the Cardinals
To be fair,
stink.
I'm right this time around.
What? No, I just think they like you more than me. It's ridiculous.
I have enjoyed the hell out of this team. I'm really enjoying watching this baseball team. I don't know how good they are. I think they have the potential to be pretty decent, though.
Let me ask you this real quick.
Please.
Is your tune going to change in the next 10 games? Because this is where I'm a little hesitant.
Why do you think we're having the conversation today?
Because that's smart, I would say. But, like, you take on the Dodgers for 3, you take on the Brewers for 3, and then the Padres for 4.
I would ask it in reverse. What happens if they win those series?
Well, then you and I are going to start dancing with $100 bills.
Yeah. I'm being totally
I like
serious.
mine in singles. That's all right.
It's in play. You're catching the Dodgers at the right time.
Well,
because the Dodgers
just lost to the Marlins that you also lost to.
Correct.
Hey, we quit on one of those games.
The Brewers are your kryptonite.
They have been. So have the Pirates.
Have they been?
I don't know if the Pirates.
We had a winning record against the Pirates
In
last
Pittsburgh, absolutely.
Well, that was
they
one
were.
series where they
Yeah.
got shut out in 3 straight when the
like
Cardinals were ass,
That
by
matters.
the way.
Yeah.
That happened.
Hold on, that's cherry picking it.
Yeah.
They haven't been the problem. The Brewers, I can't tell you the last time the Cardinals won a series against the
I
Brewers.
think last year they won a series.
I
against
don't
the
think
Brewers.
that's true.
Very forgettable.
It's very forgettable if they did because it was at the end of the season.
They won 2 out of 3 at the end of the season last year.
Yeah,
against
end of the
Brewers.
season. That one doesn't matter. Go back in the early season tank.
They won 2 out of 3 in April last year.
No, I don't think that's true.
It is. At home, they actually had a lot of success against the Brewers last year. I think they had a winning record against Milwaukee at home last season.
I don't think that's true.
Meanwhile, on the road against Pittsburgh, they were terrible.
God damn, they were 6-7 against Pittsburgh last year. Man, that team really did suck last year. No
They
wonder why
lost
we're
3 in a
rebuilding.
row at Pittsburgh in late June, early July. They did not score a run in that series. At the beginning of the season, that was, remember, the 13-inning game? They lost 2 of 3 in Pittsburgh there as well. So they have had a lot more issues in Pittsburgh recently than they have at home against Milwaukee over the last couple of seasons. So this does feel a little different. And last night, you got one hell of a catch. A great ending, some big moments. JJ Wetherholt's just putting on for his home city. It's been awesome to watch. Last night, his old high school baseball team, they were all in attendance. His high school coach was on the broadcast. That was a lot of fun to watch. And I want to take a listen, Alex, because it reminded me of another recent catch by a St. Louis Cardinal. This came against none other than, yes, the LA Dodgers. Take a listen.
The 2-1. Betts out to left. O'Neill back. He caught it! Tyler O'Neill with the catch up against the wall, and the Cardinals win it. 3-2, and what a play by O'Neill to finish off game 2.
I don't even know what to say. That's unbelievable. That is the biggest play of the year on defense right there.
That was in 2021 against the LA Dodgers as they won that game, and that was in the middle of them starting that impressive stretch of winning 17 straight to conclude the regular season and ultimately making it to the playoffs back in 2021. You guys remember that? That was at the beginning of our show. The 3 of us together here on 101 ESPN. And guess what last night may have also represented, Alex? The start of a winning stretch where everybody begins to buy in, including, yes, Tanner Hendrickson.
All right, now I'm on T-Bone's side.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're acting as if they're going to be fine because they had a big catch at the end of the game against the Pirates.
Yeah, just as they had a big catch at the end of the game against the LA Dodgers in 2021, 2 days later, they started what became the 17-game winning streak to put them into the playoff push.
I'm looking this up right now. I'm curious what the expected odds were on that catch. When was this game?
That was a better catch than what you saw last night.
No, last night was a better catch.
No.
That ball was
That
going,
was
that ball was going over
September
the
of
walls.
2021, T-Bone, against the Dodgers.
Any
2-1
catch you
game.
make with the ball going over is going
I
to
think
be
it
it.
was June 1st of 2021. Because
Yeah,
wasn't
maybe
it
it was.
in LA
It doesn't
when that
matter.
occurred? All right,
It doesn't matter.
Let's take a look at what the old probability was of that catch by good old T. O'Neill. Boy, baseball savant not helping me out here.
Yeah, you're going to be there for a
Expected
while.
batting average at 210 on that catch. So actually, Church's catch was more impressive
it's more
last
impressive.
year than that one, which is
How about
actually
that,
shocking.
T-Bone?
You just said it wasn't
How
more
about
impressive.
that? An even better catch. That is a beauty right there.
Wow, that is shocking.
Also, they won one series against the Brewers last year.
What?
I'm looking at it. They won one series.
I just gave you the numbers.
They lost 2 of 3 in September. They won 2 of 3 late September.
And then go to the first half of the season. Did you forget to look at that part?
No, they lost in June.
In April, they won 2 out of 3.
Oh, okay. So they split the series.
What?
Wait a minute. No.
What?
You said
Why can't you math?
wasn't the argument that they had a winning record against the Brewers last season?
My point was that they were better last year against the Brewers than they were against
No,
the
I thought
Pirates.
it was that they had a winning record against the Brewers last season, and I said they didn't.
They split against them.
They did. They went 6-7 against the Brewers. They went 6-7 against the Pirates.
I said on the road at Pittsburgh, they were terrible, which is objectively true, as we have already gone through.
That one I listened to.
And at home against the Brewers, which is where they will be playing Milwaukee.
That's cherry picking
they were
it.
very good.
That's cherry picking it. That's
and
cherry
they won
picking
both
it.
of the home series against Milwaukee last year.
That's cherry picking it.
Alongside Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. It's BK and Ferrario here on 101 ESPN. Somebody on the YouTube chat said, you just turned into my wife, Alex. That's right.
I don't know what that
Bringing
means.
up a conversation that we had already established.
Settled an hour ago.
I wasn't settled. I had to go back into it.
Yeah.
Wasn't settled. I had to go back
the
to
kids
it.
get put to bed and we bring it right back.
That's what that
had to
was.
go
This
back to it.
conversation's not over.
Somebody else on the YouTube chat. Hey, who's that son in the background? Who's the young
I
guy?
brought my kid to work today.
T-Bone's doing some training today. We're happy to have him in studio with us. He's going to be hanging out for the 3 hours. We will be hanging out with you until 2 o'clock. If you guys want to get involved in the show, the way to do so is 314-399-9646. That is the Air Comfort Service text line. You can always check us out on YouTube at youtube.com/101ESPNSTL. Coming up in 15 minutes, what's the lesson from the Blues, as there are some teams I feel stuck right now. We'll get into that in about 15 minutes. But next, today's our first real opportunity to see any of the return from the offseason trades. What are we expecting today from Hunter Dobbins? We'll talk about that next here on 101 ESPN. Alongside Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. It's BK and Ferrario here on 101 ESPN. Eventually, I'm going to figure this out.
Can't restart both segments.
Hitting like Victor Scott today.
Hey, he was good last night. Got hit by a pitch, stole second, stole third.
You want us to hit you?
Good last night. He was hit by a pitch.
Maybe that'll be the thing that gets me going today. It's just a little smack. Hey, do you remember the video?
Oh, I will voluntarily do that.
Do you remember? I think it was Henderson. Was it John Henderson? And Marcus Stroud, the defensive tackles for the Jacksonville Jaguars. I remember one of them, I can't remember which one, I think it was Henderson, used to have the equipment guy smack him in the face before football games. That way he could get himself going.
Well, Average Joe's Gym used to do that too before they'd go out and play a big dodgeball tournament. They'd slap each other in the face a couple of times.
Has T-Bone seen Dodgeball? Is that before your times?
I've not seen it, no.
That's such a good movie.
That was a good one. I don't know how that holds up today.
Oh,
What do you
holds
think?
up. I've seen it.
You
I've
think
watched
so?
it like a month ago. It's incredible.
Could
When did it
that
come
movie be made today?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't think they have anything that wouldn't make it. Now, they shouldn't make a remake or a sequel to it. Yeah. That's one of those that, like, just don't freaking touch it.
Okay, so the Cardinals back in action here in about 10 minutes. They'll be taking on the Pirates, and on the mound, you will be able to see Hunter Dobbins. It's the first real opportunity, Alex, in my opinion, to see some of the return that you got in the offseason trades. You haven't seen, some of Richard Fitz has, unfortunately, he's going to miss the entirety of this season, so you're not going to see him this year. Senja is still multiple years away. Ty Pete, still multiple years away. So most of the guys that you got in return for these trades, they're going to be in the future. Hunter Dobbins, though, is one of the guys that could help you right now. He's going to start today, and we'll see what the future holds for him, whether it's as a starter at the big league level, bullpen at the big league level, maybe going back down to AAA to serve as that sixth man in the rotation, the way that McGreevy did a year ago. Let's start out here. Alex, what are you expecting from Hunter Dobbins today?
Honestly, I have zero expectations for it. I'm curious to see what an offseason acquisition looks like for the Cardinals. I just want to see if this guy fits into the timeline of, hey, in a couple of years, this guy is going to be a piece of your bullpen. Now, I don't know where he's at in terms of the depth chart, in terms of the Cardinals' view, in terms of stuff and where they fit in, but I just want to see if there's any swing and miss stuff here, because that's what this starting pitching rotation seriously lacks. And can you provide a little bit more ability to go deeper into games, unlike maybe the other one? Now, I don't expect to see that today. It's the first chance you're seeing him this season with everything he's gone through, but I have no expectations because I just want to see where things are at, that what Chaim Bloom targeted for the Cardinals and what it pans out to be.
Yeah, I'm expecting him to kind of look like Palante, both from last night and kind of just moving forward, because he didn't have a ton of swing and miss last year when he was up with the Red Sox. I mean, you look at his 11 starts, 13 appearances, 6.6 strikeouts per night. That's not good strikeout stuff, but you can get away with that. I mean, he had a 4.13 ERA in his time with the Red Sox. So I'm kind of expecting this to kind of look like Andre Palante, Michael McGreevy, to where it's not missing a ton of bats, but does he get soft contact, generate ground balls, and that leads to his success. So that's kind of what I'm hoping to see out of him today, is he looks kind of like the next Andre Palante, a guy that's pitching to contact, but he's able to get you deep into games.
I'm hoping he looks the way that the Cardinals talk about Kyle Leahy looking. Like what they want Kyle Leahy to be.
That's just because you want to get rid of Kyle Leahy in the rotation?
No, but like he's got a similar pitch mix to what Kyle Leahy is able to go out there with. He's got a four-seam, a slider, a curve, sweeper, splitter, and a sinker. He's got basically every pitch that you could ask for. He can mix it up, and that splitter is something that he's really going to rely on, especially to have success against left-handed hitters. So what does that look like? What does it look like today on the mound for him? It has not been great so far this year down in the minors. His last couple of starts have been kind of hit and miss for him. So I'm not going to be overly critical today, just because he is coming back from a pretty significant injury where his knee was messed up, man. So if he comes back and he doesn't look like the fully formed version of himself, that would be totally understandable. But I'm excited to see it. I do think he's got a real future in this rotation. I think he's one of those players that I would put ahead of Kyle Leahy in the pecking order. I'm just not sure if he's ready to be that player right now, as he's still kind of coming back from this injury. So my hope is you get 4 or 5 innings today out of him and 3 earned runs or fewer. And if he can limit the walks, I think he's going to have a successful day. But his last start against Norfolk down in AAA, he had 5 walks over 4 innings. Prior to that, he had 4 walks in his previous 4 starts. So is that the start of a trend, or was that a one-off? That's the big question for him today. He did not have walk issues last year.
And I wouldn't be too concerned about that one game against Norfolk. The reason for it is he said to Derek in their piece today, he was pitching to Norfolk like he was pitching against the Pirates. So he kind of he wasn't even going for his best stuff. He was kind of preparing mentally for the Pirates. So I would kind of chalk that up to that. Now, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it is he lost command, and that is going to be an issue for him. His future for the Cardinals, I really don't know, because if he is more in the Palante, McGreevy, honestly, Leahy realm that you kind of mentioned, maybe he can just be what the Cardinals view as Leahy. That's a lot of back-end starters for probably 2 spots, but that could work for maybe this year and next year. But then at some point you start to get to, okay, hopefully your high upside arms start to get here, and then it comes down to a competition between those guys. Maybe he wins that because he's cost-controlled much longer than Palante, but we'll see if he's able to pitch into the future of the Cardinals. Right now, my expectation is he's more of just a depth starter that's here for a short time in the organization.
There's nothing wrong with having another Michael McGreevy or an Andre Palante. It's just you're going to have a lot more swing and miss stuff at the front of it, which if that's what he becomes to where it's a McGreevy, that's fine. But it puts more an emphasis on making sure that you go find those high leverage, high swing and miss velocity kinds of pitchers.
The addition of Hunter Dobbins meant somebody had to be sent out. It was exactly what we all kind of thought that it would be. Ryan Fernandez, who had the option to go down without being exposed to waivers, is the one that got sent down. Did you guys agree with the decision that he should have been the one that ultimately was sent out in favor of Dobbins?
I don't know if I agreed with it because I think he looked good the last time we saw him. It wasn't in a high leverage situation. I understand it, though. It's asset management. You guys mentioned it yesterday. We talk about it all the time with the Blues. If you're Chaim Bloom, you got to keep as many arms as possible for how this bullpen looks. And as Fernandez looked okay, go back down and keep working on it, and you'll be back at some point. It's asset management.
Yeah, I wasn't surprised by the move because I thought it was just going to be path of least resistance, asset management, as Alex said. I did wonder if they would debate potentially Stanek because of what Fernandez did in his last outing, because he was very impressive and kept them in that ballgame when he went the 2 innings. But I'm not surprised to see it because they keep selling the same stuff of, we think we can fix Stanek here at the big league level. I'm skeptical of that, but whatever. So I'm not surprised that they did asset management.
We also need to keep in mind Matt Pujols is coming up on his return. Now, he was terrible in his most recent outing yesterday against Indianapolis. Went 1 inning, allowed 3 hits and 5 runs against the Indianapolis Indians.
He'll fit in this bullpen.
Yeah. Before that, though, he was more successful, had been pretty good in his previous outings. Pujols is probably going to make his way back. Now, that is a right-handed reliever, so they're going to have to make room if they want to get him back here. He's a Rule 5 pick, so they have to have him on the roster or they lose him. They're going to have him return as well. So that's another move they might have to make in the bullpen. That's going to be the one that I find interesting. My guess, it's Swanson that goes down for him. And
asset management.
Because the only other guy that has an option is Gordon Graceffo. And I don't think they're sending Graceffo down because he's become a guy that I trust in the bullpen right now. He's one of the very few that I trust when he comes into the game. So Swanson,
Getting emotional about it?
Swanson probably goes down in that scenario, and then this is your bullpen for a little while they try to figure out some of these roles. And then if they continue to run into issues, whether it be with Brule, who I'm not a huge fan of, or Stanek.
I'm not a huge fan of.
Or Graceffo,
I'm not a huge fan
of his issues, whoever it may be, then they'll start making some of those adjustments on the fly as we get into mid or late May.
Yeah. T-Bone would like them to start being aggressive now with their bullpen.
I thought this was the right move, by the way. I agreed with it. Play the asset management game. This is not an all-in season. Keep these guys here while you can. Otherwise, if you start running into any injury questions, your depth is zero. There is nobody else that you can really go to right now down at the AAA level. Now, I think those guys will develop. They will eventually emerge. But as of today, you don't have anybody that's ready to go other than the guys that you've already seen with like Roycroft and Fernandez. So to me, I think this was the right move to send Fernandez down, keep all of the guys while you've got them, and then see where this goes over the next couple of weeks, especially as you get back a guy like Matt Pujols.
Someone sarcastically said 1-1 to lose any of those stellar arms in the bullpen right now. No, they're bad. They just want to keep having bad arms available to them because it's arms, and you don't want to lose the arms that you trust later on in the season. You'd like to have those down the road.
Also, they see something in these guys. Like, yeah, maybe you don't like them. I know T-Bone hates watching Ryan Stanek right now. Guess what?
I'd love to know what they see in Brule.
The alternative is seeing more Chris Roycroft. You enjoy that experience?
I would rather have Fernandez than Stanek.
Or why not the kid that they just claimed off of Colorado?
And then I can bring up Pujols, and then same with like the lefty, for Peralta for Brule. Like I wouldn't. I don't hear the excuse if they don't have
change for change's sake.
Well, but it's time to start changing. Like these are bullpen arms.
But see,
right?
I don't think it is right now. I think right now you can wait. I think once you get to June and July when they go a little bit, then you can start making changes.
The guy you're clamoring for right now in Peralta, Luis Peralta. Last year in 19 games, he had a 9.5 ERA. In the minor leagues in Colorado, he had a 17 ERA. That's the guy we're clamoring for?
His numbers were good away from Coors this year.
Okay.
And that's why I would say I've seen Brule, right? Like, I don't need a bigger sample size of Justin Brule to know that it doesn't work. And for bullpen arms, I say this all the time.
He's been better than the guy that you're clamoring for.
I say this all the time with bullpen arms, man. It's okay to churn through these guys. I think the problem for the Cardinals, and like, look, if they want to keep doing this, that's fine. This is why I'm not buying into what you were saying in the first segment. If you're going to say, hey, maybe they could win 85 games, they can't with this bullpen. And they got to start churning through it if they're going to try and shift things here. And I don't even think if you're shifting through the bullpen seems to signal rebuild's over or we think we can win this year. It is, guys, this is bullpen arms, right? Even bad teams should be churning through bullpen arms because you're just always looking to throw something against the wall and see if it sticks. So, yes, that means I want to see Peralta. Yeah, maybe it didn't work in Colorado. Numbers were better when he got away from Coors Field, and they clearly think there's something there. I'd rather see him than Brule, which I know doesn't have
but
stuff.
You don't have to make the move. He's in your minor league system without being on the 40-man, right? Like, he's not a guy that you have to make. He is on the 40-man. Without being on the 26-man. It's like, you get to keep him. He is part of your roster right now, and you don't have to change anything.
Here's where I'm saying,
what's the need of doing so?
I don't see the hesitation on keeping Brule.
Because they want to see if they can fix him.
Fix what? Like, there's not much upside to Brule. Even if you like what Brule is, there's not a ton of upside. I would hear the Stanek one, right? Because I can understand that, hey, we think we can fix him. There is upside to him. I mean, look at his baseball savant page. He does have swing and miss. Now, he couldn't hit the broadside of a barn with that fastball, but he does have swing and miss. So the idea is, all right, if we can fix his command just a little bit, it's going to really play up, and we're going to see significant improvement and then potentially have an asset to trade at the deadline. I have no idea what we're talking about.
They're hoping he can become TJ McFarland, a guy who... I mean, TJ McFarland fixed their bullpen for a year.
But even if they're trying...
But no one's trading for a McFarland.
No, but he might help you. This is the thing that I struggle with, T-Bone, is like, not everything is about getting this ultimate upside and chasing a number one starter. Sometimes you need guys that are middle-inning relievers. And middle-inning relievers are, by definition, not very good.
Yes, but they need to be better than that. They need to be able to get guys out. I don't care so much about the swing and miss.
But they don't
He's not
have
getting
anybody.
Guys out.
They don't have anybody that can do that right now.
I would bring up Peralta. Like, I would do that.
Maybe
or
that guy couldn't get guys out anywhere. Has never in his career gotten guys out.
I would continue
to try Justin Brule has. Justin Brule last year at the major league level had a 3.6 ERA. The guy that you're talking about that is apparently this godsend that's going to fix their bullpen, he had a 7.5 ERA or a 9.5 ERA. Like,
I mean, you can't say Peralta didn't get anybody out. 2 years ago, he got people out in Colorado. It's pretty good for him in Colorado.
The last 2 years, he has been an absolute nightmare.
That's fine, but like, I'm not arguing to bring him up right now.
I'm not saying he fixes your problem. What I'm saying is, Brule's not fixing anything right now. So it's time to churn. It's time to see if somebody else will. Maybe Peralta doesn't. All right, well, I gave him a run. Boom, I'm going to the next arm. This is bullpens. They should be churning constantly.
But at some point, you run out of arms doing that.
Correct.
Because then you're starting moving guys.
Can find, look at waivers all the time, man. There are bullpen arms constantly on waivers that you can go out and get.
They're like this.
And some of them end up working.
Some of them do. Most don't. And so what you end up doing, instead of being able to work with a guy like T-Bone, do you think they have decent coaching?
I do. But I don't think they can fix Brule.
Okay, well, that is your opinion. They disagree with you. They think you're wrong, is what they're telling you with their actions. And so maybe they will be proven incorrect on this. That is entirely possible. It is maybe even likely. But they see a guy who over the last 4 years, his expected ERA was 3.7, 3.7, 4.7, 3.6, 3.6. That's at the major league level. He's doing this against major league hitters. He has had success here. They are saying, we believe we can get him back to that. And if we do, he is a capable middle inning reliever for us. Meanwhile, the guys you're talking about, most of them have never had that kind of success at the major league level. So it is about the Cardinals trusting their staff to get this guy fixed. If they don't, and if it takes another couple of weeks and they decide, you know what? It's just not happening this year. Something has changed. We can't unlock his arsenal. It's time for us to make the switch. Then I'm more than happy to listen to that argument and we can have the conversation then. But man, it's April 30th. Like, we're talking about this as if we're 6 months into the regular season. We're not. It's still super early. He's had a few appearances at the major league level thus far. Let's give it a little bit of time before we make some kind of a reactionary decision that you can't take back. Because once he's gone, there's no getting him back. That's my personal opinion on the matter. He's, so far this year, seen an appearance in 16 games. Let's give it a little bit more time. Last year, he had 12 strikeouts per 9 innings. That's the kind of strikeout stuff that you're talking about, right, T-Bone?
He had that in 15 games.
Sure. Did he have strikeout stuff?
Apparently.
Yeah. And they're hoping they can get him back to that.
I think it's waiting too long. I think it's fine to turn through bullpen arms. This is the life of a reliever, man. It's not like I'm talking about a starter that goes out there and there's a bigger sample size. The sample size this year says, hey, odds are this isn't going to turn around. And it's okay to churn through these guys. I have no hesitation in moving on from bullpen arms. And I get it. If we want to trust the Cardinals on what they say, okay, sure. But they have examples of they have proven us wrong, like Jordan Hicks. This is about the time we had the conversation on Jordan Hicks. They proved us wrong on that one. We also had conversations on Fetty, and they lasted too long on him as a starter, and they couldn't fix him.
And I agreed with you on that. But that was 4 months into the season.
Yeah, but
this is 4 weeks into the season.
You have to go quicker on.
Well, and they also made that mistake waiting 4 months for Eric Fetty to get that fixed. When if you would have done something 2 months sooner, you wouldn't have screwed yourself up in the long run.
Maybe, and I'm in agreement with you. If we get 4 months in and Brule is this same guy, and they're still running him out there and they have not made any moves, then I'm willing to have the conversation that we're having right now, and I'll be on T-Bone's side of, hey, it's time to make a move. You know, I was on that side last year with Fernandez, but that was a very different season where they were really trying to push, allegedly, last year. This year, I don't think you're in that spot. I think this year is about asset management.
Moving a bullpen arm pushing? Like, that's where I just disagree.
Yeah, I think so.
I don't think it is. I think just turning through bullpen arms is the course of a baseball season.
I also want to see the alternative. Like, if you've got a good alternative down in AAA, I'm more than happy to have the conversation. I don't think they have one right now. I think a lot of the guys that they've got at AAA are basically just right-handed version of what they have in Brule. All right, we've gone too long here talking about a bullpen arm. That probably doesn't matter to the future of the St. Louis Cardinals. Coming up in 15 minutes, we'll get into some questions and answers. 314-399-9646. That is the Air Comfort Service text line. But next, what's the lesson for the Blues from some of these teams that feel stuck right now? We'll talk about that next here on 101 ESPN.
Tanner Hendrickson here with a Sports Center update brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling. Cardinals currently in action as they're in Pittsburgh trying to complete the 4-game sweep over the Pirates. They lead it 1-0 after a solo home run from JJ Wetherholt to lead off the game against Paul Skeens. As Skeens is on the mound for the Pittsburgh Pirates today, Hunter Dobbins will be making his Cardinals debut later on after the top of the first. The Sports Center update is brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling, a Daikin heating and air conditioning dealer.
Alongside Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. Time to talk about the St. Louis Blues. By the way, JJ Wetherholt, a home run on the first at-bat of the game. Leadoff homer against Paul Skeens out in Pittsburgh.
I think Skeens might have the yips against the Cardinals. That poor guy sees red and he panics.
That JJ Wetherholt's pretty good, huh?
Just a little bit.
Not bad. Not bad. No,
Is this power better than you expected, T-Bone?
Oh, yeah. Because I thought he was going to be a doubles hitter. Not
a deep breath with the, oh, yeah, was a little weird. Oh, yeah.
T-Bone's going through it today.
Yeah. You've been rough already on both of us.
It has surprised me because I thought based on everything that you would read about his profile, it was this guy's got a hit tool, but not like pure power as a tool. And what I mean by that is doubles, right? Like if you ever read the scouting report on Connor Griffin, for example, who's the Pirates' top prospect, that was this guy's 19 and can hit like impressive home runs down at the minor league level. Like this guy's going to develop into a 30 home run hitter. That was never the case on JJ. A lot of it was, hey, 15, 20 is probably the home runs, and then really where the power comes, it's almost like Matt Carpenter, right? He's hitting like 40 doubles in the season, and that's how he does it. This has shocked me because this is looking like 30 home run power from a guy that, in theory, should only get better from after this year.
He just forces guys to pitch to him in the strike zone. Yeah. When he does, this one, like the first two pitches from Skeens, he couldn't hit the strike zone, forced it down the middle, and Wetherholt was ready for it, and he's got that power that can hit it. So I always wondered if you could get to 30. I didn't think it was possible. I thought we were talking 20, maybe 25 at best. But, yeah, this isn't even like, he's kind of in that man strength area because he's older than most rookies. But still, you're a couple years away from actually hitting that prime peak man strength era. So for Wetherholt, that's a hell of a start.
It's been very impressive to start out his major league career. I want to look this up just out of curiosity. How often have the Cardinals seen a guy at this age have at least 7 home runs in the first 31 games of the regular season? I can't imagine it's been very often. The last one to do so, Nolan Gorman.
Oh, jeez.
In 2023.
It was a fun run, I guess, guys.
Here's the entire list of players that had as many home runs through the first 31 games of the regular season as we've seen so far this season from JJ Wetherholt. 1, Jordan Walker this year. 2, Nolan Gorman in 2023. 3, Paul DeYoung in 2018. 4, 5, and 6, Albert Pujols. 7, Fernando Tatis in 1999. And 8, Ken Boyer back in 1956. Pretty good list. That's a lot of guys with legit big-time power, though. And then JJ Wetherholt, who I did not anticipate having this kind of power.
And on that list, Wetherholt outside of Pujols has better hit tools than the guys that kind of failed. Like Gorman, as we've seen, chases too much, misses too much.
DeYoung, same thing.
DeYoung, the same thing. Who's the other one you meant? Oh, Walker. Walker kind of, we'll see if he's kind of fixed that this year, but as we're seeing his swing and miss rate starting to go up a little bit too, he's got the best hit tool on that list till you get to Pujols, of course. Then it's the freaking MVP. And
Fernando Tatis, that season that he did this, he finished the season that year in 1999, hitting .298 with a .400 on base and a .553 slugging percentage. I'd go ahead and sign up for that right now.
I didn't realize Tatis was that good.
He had one really, really excellent season.
That's the year he probably hit the 2 grand slams in it, didn't he?
31 doubles, 34 homers, 107 RBI, 21 stolen bases that season.
We got a J-bomb, too, by the way. Jordan Walker on that Paul Skeens. That guy sucks. Paul Skeens.
This guy has not been able to hit the strike zone at all.
They should have traded him to the Yankees.
In the first inning. I don't know what the Cardinals have on him, but they clearly have something. Because they are one of the only teams in Major League Baseball that's able to have success against Paul Skeens this year. All right, Alex, NHL-wise, we'll get into questions and answers coming up on the other side. This has been a great hockey segment here.
Let's keep talking baseball.
There are a few teams in the NHL that feel kind of stuck right now. Now, T-Bone has a different classification for this than I do. Who could have seen that coming, given the way that the Today Show
Well,
has
you've
gone?
just been wrong a lot today, haven't you?
Let's hear you guys argue again.
No.
It's really just one team.
T-Bone would throw Pittsburgh into this mix. They do feel stuck, but for very different reasons than many of the teams that I'm about to mention here.
They're stuck because they've got 3 Hall of Famers on their team.
Correct.
What a tough spot.
The teams that I would throw into this mix are like Detroit, who has been going through a rebuild, thought that they were on the other side of it, and very clearly are not. I would throw the Devils into this mix, kind of similar conversation. Nashville thought they were done with their rebuild, went out, got aggressive, and here we are again. I would throw the LA Kings into this, same thing. They were in the retool, kind of like the Blues were, thought they were ready to push, and once again, not great this season, and end up having a very early end to their year. Alex, is there any lesson for the Blues from these teams on how they feel stuck, why they ended up being in that situation, and what the Blues can avoid having the same fate?
I think there's one common theme from the 4 teams that you just listed there, and I would say they got aggressive too early or too soon. Like, just going through this list right here, the LA Kings thought they were on the outside of it. They valued strength down the middle, and they said, let's go get Pierre-Luc Dubois. And they traded Velarde, Kupari, and Iafallo. And that trade blew up in their face. They had to basically pay to get rid of him. He went on to Washington to have success, and you lost out on 2 top 9, 1 top line forward. The Nashville Predators got way too aggressive way too soon and went and threw all of the money at Steven Stamkos and Ryan O'Reilly and Jonathan Marchessault and Brady Shea, and that blew up in their face, and now they're massively stuck going into a rebuild. Detroit gets aggressive for guys that make 0 sense to them. Ben Sherratt, Justin Falk, Patrick Kane, Alex DeBrincat, and then the New Jersey Devils. They've been aggressive. Sometimes when you want to push, it sounds fun and appealing, but when you do it, you push for the wrong guy and your team gets even more stuck. And you could argue that the Blues have gotten themselves stuck with banking on the wrong pieces for their team, whether it's Buchnevich or Kyrou or Thomas, whomever you view. But I view giving contract extensions to guys very different than going out there and trading pieces that you've developed to go get something that you think makes you better right away, and it doesn't happen. So to me, that's why all 4 of those teams are stuck. It's that on top of just the inability to draft well.
It's asking guys to be more than what they are, and I think, like, when you mentioned, like, the Devils, right? Timo Meier, asking Meier to be a little too much and banking on him having, like, the one big breakout year on a team that wasn't very good, where points were going to have to be scored by somebody, So I agree. I think that is part of it. And that's why I would say, like, if you are the Blues and you are looking at that saying, you know what, we want to be aggressive this offseason, you'll have to go for the surefire things. That is, okay, Brady Tkachuk becomes available. Okay, well, we're going after Brady, right? The track record says you're not going to go wrong in that move. I would say the same thing is for Jason Robertson, especially if you keep Robert Thomas, for example. Surefire move, I would say. The one that I would say might be the reach would be Beniers of Seattle. When we've talked about the center position, we bring up his name. He's the one that kind of fits into the, okay, this one feels like a reach. Now, you may be right, and it ends up accelerating the retool. Or that's the move that you look back on and say, okay, that was our mistake, and that's how we got ourselves stuck.
I would fear a little bit locking yourself in on, like, Jason Robertson. Now, I'm the guy, I would do it. I would get aggressive. I would make that move. My concern would be, what does he look like when he's not with future Hall of Famers potentially on his line? Is he still that same 40-goal scorer here, or is that a byproduct of some of the spacing that he's able to have because of his line mates that he's playing with alongside him in Dallas? I don't think so. I think that is a guy that can be a 35-plus goal scorer here as well, but that would be one of my concerns is you put him into the Jordan Kyrou role and get kind of similar Jordan Kyrou production out of Jason Robertson here, and I would fear you pay him $12 million a year, and now you've locked yourself into that kind of production. Now, he would be for a different reason, but it's kind of similar to Nashville, where they paid Steven Stamkos to be the guy that he was in Tampa, and he hasn't necessarily been that, although this year scored 40 goals, so he wasn't their biggest problem.
It's hard to be the guy you are on the team you're at because you're not playing with the same players. And what I mean by that is it's hard to be Steven Stamkos when you don't have Nikita Kucherov on your line.
Sure.
It's hard to be Jason Robertson when you don't have Wyatt Johnston dishing you the puck or Mikko Rantanen taking up so much space on the ice, which is why it's skeptical on all of them. Like Brady Tkachuk plays a style that goes to every team. You go to the front of the net, you're going to score goals. That's why Zach Hyman worked so well. He went to Edmonton, and you got a guy that can get you the puck in front of the net. Goal scorers versus power forwards are very different, in my opinion. The same can be said about centermen. Pierre-Luc Dubois had problems. And so when the LA Kings said, well, we need help down the middle, which is so crazy because they drafted a guy in Quentin Byfield who was a clear-cut number 2 center, but they said, well, we need to get better now, and we'll trade away goal scoring for a guy we've seen perform in the playoffs for a guy that has not performed well. So sometimes it's just you get way too aggressive because you see that shiny new toy and you say, well, this can make us better right now. I'd also argue if you don't have your goaltending right, you're not making yourself any better. Like, look at all 4 of those teams. The LA Kings, you can make the argument for. Their goaltending's been fine, but they cannot score goals. But Nashville, they got a goaltending problem. Saros isn't even their number 1 anymore. Detroit,
it's crazy.
They've paid all kinds of guys to be their goaltenders, and none of them have been good. And then the New Jersey Devils. Jacob Markstrom has been a problem so much that Jake Allen took the net from him this year. Winnipeg was aggressive and went and got Velarde. You see other teams that go out there and like actually go spend to trade Dallas, or Dallas is the one. When you got the goaltending you can trust, you can go out there and you can try and make upgrades elsewhere. So there's a lot that goes into it, but more times than not, when teams see its shiny new toy and say, well, that will make us better right now, it doesn't help you unless your core is in the right place it needs to be.
314-399-9646. That is the Air Comfort Service text line to get involved in the show. Coming up next, we'll get into questions and answers here on BK and Ferrario. Do you guys know that JJ Wetherholt now has 6 consecutive games with an extra base hit?
Now that's more of what I was expecting.
Yeah, but more of those extra base hits are home runs than doubles.
Well.
Yeah. That's not what I was expecting. To answer the question at the beginning of the show, now that you're thinking about it and you see Wetherholt, like, that's part of the reason why you're excited about the Cardinals too, right?
Absolutely.
Like the first time you've drafted somebody that high in the draft and he's actually turning into, when the one thing as Cardinals fans we've complained about is this team can't draft well. They can't develop players well. And now, like, you're seeing it. So I think that's got to be a massive part of this conversation.
And it's beyond just him. It's also Jordan Walker.
Yeah.
It's the upside, guys. Because where I've pushed back at times when people get upset about the Cardinals' development, they're not wrong on they miss on the star players, where they don't develop the high upside Jordan Walkers, the high upside JJ Wetherholt. Where they're good at is the Nathan Churches, where it is, hey, who's this left-handed swinging outfielder that's got a cannon of an arm that suddenly looks like he can play at the big leagues that you never heard of until last year? That's what the Cardinals were good at.
Or Burley.
Or Burley. Burley a little different.
Outside the top 50-ish for prospects, not a first-round pick, just a really good hitter. Like, they're really good at producing those guys.
It's the J.J. Weatherholts. It's the Jordan Walkers. It's the what Gorman was supposed to be that they have really struggled to develop.
They've also put themselves in a bad spot because they draft too safe on the pitchers. And that's something that's shifting, because we could talk position players all day long, but their biggest problem over the last few years has been pitching, and you draft way too safe with that.
Yeah, I would say the biggest change for me when it comes to my perspective on the Cardinals this year is twofold. One, expectations. My expectations were lower, which means I'm more likely to be happy when they're just slightly above league average. Right, that's enough to outperform my expectations, whereas previously, if you were slightly above league average, you're like, where's the upside coming from? This team should be one that is able to make it to the playoffs and then go on a run. I'm sick of just winning 90, getting in, and then getting swept by whoever it is that you face. This year, that wasn't the expectation, so I'm more likely to be happy. Two, you have the potential of homegrown stars. JJ Wetherholt and Jordan Walker are presenting that, and that is something that they haven't had in a decade. The ability to, like, really believe that some of your young homegrown players have the potential to be a star in your lineup. And that is a very different feeling, and it changes the way that I look at the lineup. And then beyond that, I mentioned Burleson. Burleson's also been good this year. Ivan Herrera has an 850 OPS on the season. It's not like these guys have been bad. They're fitting into where they should be in your lineup, and you're bookending them with potential stars. That changes everything.
Some of these guys that are performing well are doing so, and I don't even think they're hitting their stride yet. Wetherholt, for the most part, like, I know we were saving this for later, but people have been upset about his batting average. Man, he's getting on base at unbelievable clip. And now he's starting to hit for power. And as teams are coming in the zone, he's starting to hit for both power when it comes to home runs and doubles. Herrera, for example, you just mentioned, what's his OPS? 850? That's being carried by his on base right now. Guys, he's not going to be a guy that has his OPS carried by his on base. It's going to be via his slug. So at some point, he's going to start to hit for power. And that's why, like, this offense, when we had that question a couple weeks ago, Alex, of, hey, which one do you feel better about moving forward, the offense or the pitching staff? It's why I said at the time, man, it's the offense, because it was being carried by guys I wasn't expecting, and some of your best players weren't even hitting their stride yet.
Don't look now, but Hunter Dobbins just had a heck of a first inning as well.
How many strikeouts?
1.
All right.
20 pitches.
All right.
That's on pace for 100 if he pitches through 5.
Well, I mean, we couldn't possibly have him throw 100 pitches.
I think that's what you're hoping for, though. It's like 5 innings. Get you 5, get out of the game, feeling
pitches.
good. It was 2 strikeouts, by the way, in that first inning.
Ooh.
2 strikeouts in the first. His fastball was hovering around 95. 3 swing and misses already in the first inning as well. To end of the first inning, his fastball was sitting 97. All right, that'll play.
Needed swing and miss.
Can make that work. All right, 314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line for questions and answers. From the 314, guys, if the Cardinals are within a game of the final wild card spot by the deadline, would you do a small buy without sacrificing any of the significant assets?
I mean, yeah, as long as I'm not sacrificing anything that I don't need. I mean, my primary move would be to sell. If I'm one game out of a wild card spot, that means that Dustin May has performed well, I would imagine, as well as Riley O'Brien, and I would still move those pieces.
2 pieces that I think you're still potentially moving. It would be kind of similar to what the Red Sox did with Chaim Bloom in charge, where they sold and bought a little bit.
They sold Vasquez and bought Pham.
You could see them, like, selling on Pedro Pages, maybe. I guess it was 3 moves. Pages, maybe you look at Dustin May and Lars Nootbaar. Those would be the three guys I would still consider because you have internal replacements as possibilities for each of those three.
I would. Riley O'Brien's moved too. I know we had that conversation already, but I'm considering that.
That would be one that I don't feel the absolute need to do, but I would understand it if they did. If they just maximized where they're at. But it would be likely for me.
Yeah, I think if you're out of the playoff picture, even by a game, you sell. When I made the argument the last couple of weeks, which I'm shocked you've now said you're keeping O'Brien because you wanted to sell him a couple weeks ago.
Right? I was saying,
no, not you, him. When I made the argument of, hey, I think you have to keep O'Brien is if you're in the playoff picture. If you're a game out, to me, you're still a defiant seller because of what you said at the beginning of the year that you're rebuilding.
From the 314, guys, do you think that Liam Doyle is going to figure into their plans anytime soon? Probably not. I wouldn't expect him this year.
Yeah, I would hope maybe you get a chance next year, but I wouldn't plan on it at all this year.
Yeah, my current ETA for him as a hope would be September of 2027. Because right now he's clearly working on some stuff. He's really trying to work on the breaking ball down in the minor leagues at AA. Hope he kind of figures that out. He's probably spend most of the year, if not the entire year, at AA, and then next year you get him to AAA.
From the 314, Alex, this one's for you. What's an out of left field move that the Blues could make that would blow your mind this offseason?
Jeez.
Matty Beniers, I feel like, would be that.
Matty Beniers would surprise me. If they went out there and got aggressive for a top pair defenseman, that would blow my mind. Owen Power, Bo Byram from Buffalo.
Parayko traded? Would that blow your mind?
No,
I know that one's not buying.
I think Binnington would blow my mind more than Parayko. I kind of just have a
I guess that's
understanding that there's a chance Parayko's going to be gone because I understand. Like, I don't like it. I don't agree with it, but I understand as to why you'd look at it and say he doesn't fit our timeline. And if we can go out there and get the same thing that Buffalo was willing to give us, then we make that move.
I think trading Carbonell would be a move that would blow a lot of Blues fans' minds.
Carbonell or Juracek.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
They put him in the package to get whoever it is.
Honestly,
I agree with that.
Honestly, right now, drafting...
Dvorsky.
Yeah, Dvorsky, too. Drafting all three of your first-round picks might blow my mind, too.
See, that one I
funny.
kind
That's
of
my
accept that.
I just, for some reason, don't see a scenario where you take all three of those because there's a chance to move up, there's a chance to move out. Like, if you want to move off of guys, there are pieces that can help you move off of guys to sweeten the pot. That won't blow my mind in the sense of some of these other things, but probably Beniers would be the biggest one because that's going out there and defining we have a 1-2 center for the next 7 years.
Coming up in 15 minutes, yesterday I said how much I dislike the expansion of the NCAA tournament. If you're a Mizzou fan, there's one thing, though, that it could benefit you in an unexpected way. We'll get into that coming up in about 15 minutes. But next, we got to talk about payroll disparity in Major League Baseball. Yes, it is still a conversation, but in a very different way at the national level. We'll get into that next year on 101 ESPN. With Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. A lot of conversation has been spent on the disparity in Major League Baseball when it comes to payroll. You look at the Dodgers, you look at the Yankees, the Mets. Some of these teams are outspending the middle class by a significant degree. Earlier today, Jeff Passan had a piece, Alex, on some of the most expensive teams in Major League Baseball. They've been terrible so far this season. You look at the New York Mets, $380 million. That's the investment in the 2026 club. They're 10-20. You look at the Philadelphia Phillies, they're spending $315 million on the club. They're 10-19, and they fired their manager. The Red Sox are similar at 270, 12-19, just fired their manager as well. I just referenced 3 of the top 6 payrolls in Major League Baseball. They're atrocious. They're worse than the Cardinals have been this year, who are spending as much on their entire roster as some of these teams are spending on their top 2 players. Here's Tim Kirkjian on ESPN talking about that payroll gap.
Nobody can make sense out of this game. We couldn't make any sense out of it last year, and same thing this year. But if we lock people out and don't play part of next year or all of next year just because of the payroll disparity. Look, if you know what you're doing, like the Rays do, then, and seemingly like the Pirates do this year, you can win in today's game. The Tigers a few years ago proved that. Several teams have proven that. You just have to run your team better. And as much as we complain that the Dodgers have just bought a championship 2 years in a row, their organization is beautifully run. I don't care what anyone says. They do things on the inside, draft, develop, make players better than most teams. So I think it's an excuse that is kind of running out of time. Do we need to get closer between the haves and have-nots? Of course. But when really high-paid teams like this are struggling this badly, it does tell you that, you know, crazy things happen, inexplicable things happen all the time.
I mean, there's some truth to what he said. Like, the Dodgers are a very well-run organization. I'm not going to deny that.
Yeah, you know what they do, though, with all those developing prospects that they have? They go and trade for the best player on somebody's team that nobody else can make that payroll work.
Absolutely. And they take on bad contracts to make the return less. Mm-hmm. So when they trade for Mookie Betts, they also take on David Price's contract to make sure, all right, well, yeah, we're going to give up a little bit here, but it's not the top of the top when it comes to the talent that's going in return. They get to a trade deadline. They can trade for both Freddie Freeman and Max Scherzer. Like, they can go make the move in an offseason where they sign Shohei Ohtani. They go to the top of the free agent market this past offseason on a shorter-term deal to go get Kyle Tucker because they're not worried about the AAV. Whatever, it's just money to us. We're spending $417 million on our roster. What's another 40? That's 10% of our payroll. Meanwhile, for the Cardinals, that's 70% of the payroll. It's a pretty significant ad. You got to think twice about doing something like that. So I love Tim Kirkjian. He's one of my favorite people to listen to talk to. I think he does an unbelievable job of covering this game. I disagree with him on this.
I do too.
I think the payroll disparity is very real. And yes, you can point to the Mets and the Phillies and the Red Sox as the outliers here. I would simply point to the Dodgers as that's the reason that fans are turning away. Fans get through the regular season and think to themselves, man, that was a lot of fun, but I know my team doesn't have a chance in October because look at that Goliath that is on the other side where they have future Hall of Famers hitting in the bottom half of their order. How is my team supposed to compete with that? My number 3 starter this year is Michael McGreevy. Their number 5 starter is an all-star. Like, what? How is that fair, much less something that my favorite team can legitimately compete with? And the answer is it's not fair, and you can't compete with it.
Well, and that's the part that I disagree with Tim. Like, yeah, you can say if you run your organization well, you can still win. But it doesn't matter if you run it well and still win and just get to the playoffs. People want to see you win the World Series. And everybody knows that by the time you get to October, sure, you can say anything weird can happen in the postseason, but more times than not, that team is going to perform well in the postseason like they've done in back-to-back years. And that's what turns people away. The regular season is still, I guess, somewhat entertaining if your team is good. But every conversation that somebody has, like if the Cardinals were in a competitive mode, not in a rebuild mode, and we were talking about them being one of the best teams in the NL Central, you know, every conversation that I would come back at you with and start talking of saying like, oh man, this team might be good. Yeah, the Dodgers are in the National League. So it doesn't matter. You can build and try and become a World Series contender, but when the Dodgers are continuing to develop players well and draft well, that's all fine and dandy. But when they can take on every team's absurd contract to get the best players and go sign the best players, then it's a moot point. The regular season's fun. Sure, it's fun to be in the playoffs, but it doesn't matter when that team is night and day better than you when games matter the most.
Dale in Grubville said, MLB needs a salary cap floor as much as it needs a hard cap at the top. Sure, but you don't get the cap at the bottom without the cap at the top.
You can't have one without the other.
Correct. Because one side will argue for one and the other side will argue for the other. And the only way you get one is with both. So that's the thing here. Is I'm in agreement with you, Dale and Grubville. I think that they do need a salary floor. I think that's a big problem with Major League Baseball right now is so many have-nots. And they're looking at this for the teams that are doing that, and they're saying, well, why would I spend? I'm making money hand over fist every year. I've got a certain number of people that are just going to come to the ballpark no matter what. It's a nice entertainment idea for them. And with the TV deals that we've got in place, I'm just making money here. So whatever. I'm turning this into a revenue machine, profit machine more than anything else. It's a business after all. So for those teams, they're not incentivized to spend because they know even if I spend, I'm not going to win. So cool, I'll just make money out of this. But yeah, that's why you want the floor. The ceiling is to prevent something like the Dodgers. Because for all of the teams that we can point to here that are doing this wrong, the Dodgers are doing it 100% right, and they built a Death Star. And yes, I think it is good for Major League Baseball to have a villain. I think that's really important, for you to be able to look at somebody and say, that's the bar. It's why I think the Chiefs have been good for the NFL. It's why you look at, like, the NHL. It's been good to have the Edmonton Oilers and the Florida Panthers. So the Panthers specifically, that is the team that you can match up against and say, where are we at on that spectrum of contender? I think that's good. The Dodgers are different. The Dodgers are minus money to, like, win the National League. That means you have to bet more than you would win in order to win X amount of dollars. That's not good for Major League Baseball. That's not good for anybody. That's not a team that you stack yourself up against. That's a team that you whack yourself in the head whenever you go up against them.
So I want to lead off with I agree on everything.
Whoa.
Just to play devil's advocate here, because you guys have made reference to the same one point of this is what turns people away. People aren't turning away. And that's where, like, I think MLB has somewhat of an argument here of, I agree. I do think the financial disparity is a major problem. And I do agree that this league needs a cap because I think it makes it better for off seasons for some of these markets like Cleveland, like Tampa Bay, so on and so forth, Miami. But people aren't turning away because of the Dodgers. In fact, attendance was up last year. Viewership was up last year on all national games. So as much as I agree we need a cap, are we sure the Dodgers are bad for baseball? Because what drives the ultimate product is the people that go sit in the stands and what the TV numbers are. And both of those are up hand over fist over the last year.
I have a retort to that. I think that the rule changes in Major League Baseball have led more people to enjoying the product. I think the baseball product is as good as it's been in a really long time. The game moves well. I think you're seeing a lot of young players that are having a ton of success. Like, I think baseball, the actual game, is in a really healthy place right now. What's not in a healthy place is the competitive nature of it once we get to October. Because once we get there, it is very clear and defined this team is better than everybody else. Good luck competing against them. You're going to need that luck once you get into a 7-game series in order to compete with them, much less actually beat them. So you're right, T-Bone. People aren't actively turning away the way that they were when games were 4 hours long and strikeouts were happening every other at-bat. That was a bad product to watch. I think the changes have made it a more watchable product, so people are watching it. I think the ceiling, though, is even higher than where it's at right now. And I think if you did have some kind of a cap and a floor, you would be in a place where Major League Baseball could legitimately insert itself into the conversation as being the second most popular sport in America again. Like, being that and taking over from the NBA and being that sport that is on a rocket ship in the upward trajectory. So that I think there's even more untapped potential because of what we've seen in the game right now, where it is actually in a really good place. And if you're able to continue in this trend, you're looking at a sport that is not only not dying the way that a lot of people thought recently, but is actively improving upon itself for future years.
So, again, I want to lead off with I agree we need a cap, but to play devil's advocate, continuing here, aren't the Dodgers what gets you to that point of being the second best sport or the second most watched? Because
no,
there's an article,
yes.
in The Athletic coming into the season that the NBA and Major League Baseball has an argument that it's caught the NBA based on TV ratings, what they're doing, and the driving force behind that is the Dodgers. And until you start to see people aren't watching the World Series, well, what happened? What drove the NBA to that? It was a super team. It was Michael Jordan and the Bulls. It was LeBron and the Heat. It was
disagree.
LeBron and the super teams.
The super team is what killed the NBA in some ways. Like the fact that there are teams that you don't have an ability to compete with the Golden State Warriors when Kevin Durant gets there. That's what's different. People liked watching the Warriors as a quote-unquote super team when it was homegrown.
Yeah.
And then once they added Kevin Durant, it ceased to be interesting for most people. I would say the Dodgers were the same thing. Before they added Shohei Ohtani, and certainly before they then added a guy like
Kyle Tucker
this offseason, they were really interesting and fun and beatable potentially. Like you saw where there were some deficiencies with that team. And then they go get Shohei and they added Yamamoto and they added Roki Sasaki and they add in Kyle Tucker. It's like, all right, this isn't fair anymore.
And then also at the deadline, they were able to acquire Scherzer,
but like the numbers
Turner.
On television would suggest people still want to watch the
I think that's
people are
because
gonna
the
watch
game's
playoffs
in
no
a
matter what.
really good place.
I don't know that you have an argument to say that we need a cap then. Like that would be my I don't like if you're continuing to say
Well, you need a cap
Major
because of
League
the
Baseball,
disparity between the other teams. There's
but
one team.
If attendance is up and viewership is up, that's what you care about if you're Major League Baseball. You don't care about the competitive nature of the game, right?
But what
because
Tim
the
said
NBA
is
had
what's
this
the problem? There's a problem between the top and the bottom. There's no in between. You've got the Dodgers, you've got just a mess of teams, and then you've got a lot of teams that just look at it as we're bad all the time. That's the problem with baseball. There's no competitiveness towards the top. It's one team, everyone else, and then a slew of teams that are 5 or 6 that are just awful every single year.
And I think the game's been that way for a very long time, and the game's continued to grow.
Not to this level of the Dodgers.
I mean, you had the Yankees that were the juggernaut of the 90s.
But they didn't win every. I mean,
they won, what, 3 in a row?
They were homegrown. The difference between the payroll disparity
would you agree, though,
is
the NBA is in a better
more.
spot today? Because, like,
no.
And I'm not an NBA guy.
Then
they don't have a super team.
I'm confused. What are you asking?
My point on the NBA when I brought up the super team, I get it. Golden State added KD. That was annoying, right? The reason I would say that I felt like the NBA was when it was at its best is I'm a casual NBA guy, right? I mean, they don't play defense in the regular season. We can get into that. But the playoffs I enjoy. Right now, like, I don't find the playoffs that entertaining because there's no super team.
There is, though. It's just a team that doesn't have a huge superstar. It's Oklahoma City. Oklahoma City is a super team.
And that's a homegrown super team, too.
Correct.
But they don't feel that way.
I don't know what to tell you. They've got the MVP on their roster, and they won 64 games
But I think we had this conversation last year about Oklahoma City.
They don't feel that way, but I don't know why. I can't explain it.
But that's the problem, right? You have to be able, it has to be able that, like, the casual fan would say that's a super team. I knew that with the Golden State Warriors. I knew that with the Miami Heat. I knew that when LeBron was there with Cleveland with him, Kyrie, and Kevin Love. I don't feel that way about the NBA, but I think that's where, like, again, I agree the MLB needs a cap. But I think it gets hard to argue when we say, well, people are losing interest, because they're not.
It's not about people losing interest. It's about not getting the full potential of where that interest is at. Yep. If you could have more markets that are more interested in the sport for longer, instead of just having one behemoth in Los Angeles, that will expand the game in a way that we're seeing with college football right now. College football was in a really healthy spot. I mean, people were watching like crazy when it was Alabama versus Clemson every year. And it was them and them and them. And then Georgia would enter the mix, right? Like, it was 5 teams that were really competing for a national title every single season. And then the other 125 were like, yeah, we're also here. We're playing for fun this year. And hopefully we get to 10 wins and get to go to the Cotton Bowl. It'll be great. We're all going to have a grand old time as we go up against our rivals in rivalry week. That was really what you were playing for, is a consolation prize. That's what Major League Baseball is right now. The point with NIL and how much it's meant to college football is not that college football was in a bad place and therefore nobody was watching. It was in a good place, and now it is in a better place. Because Indiana can compete. Arizona State can make it to a playoff. TCU can make it to a playoff. Mizzou can dream on making it to a playoff. That's what it has allowed for. in Major League Baseball, right now there's basically one team that can dream on being a World Series champion. If you allow for others to have that same ability, I think you will expand the sport. I think you will expand the interest in what you're already seeing with rising TV deals, what you're already seeing with rising attendance. I think you will continue to see at even greater numbers in the event that you're able to get some kind of a cap. So that's the way that I would look at it. Yes, it's in a good spot right now. Could it be in a better place? Do we just allow for this to continue on status quo, or is there a way for us to take the current trajectory and even increase it more? I think that's what a potential salary cap would do, but you have to weigh that against, well, how are we getting to that cap, and what would a lockout do for that interest level that we've already grown? That's where the real conversation is, and I don't know the answer in that scenario. But if you could get it without that, yeah, that's best case scenario for everybody involved. Coming up next, the expansion of the NCAA tournament might benefit Mizzou fans in particular in an unexpected way. We'll talk about that next year on 101 ESPN. Hey, it's BK for my friends at Victory Men's Health. It is time for you to unlock your inner champion. Go to Victory Men's Health to do so today. It's a super easy process to get started. Just go to their website at victorymenshealth.com. When you get there, you'll be able to book that first appointment at any of their 4 great locations across the St. Louis area. In that first appointment, you'll have an initial visit where you get a consultation with a licensed medical provider. They will do some lab work for you, find out where all of your different levels are at, including your testosterone levels, to find out, hey, is this something that would be beneficial to you? Then you go back and they'll put together a personalized plan to see what it means to unlock your inner champion. For some people, that means low testosterone. For others, maybe it's weight loss goals that you're trying to meet, or sexual health that you need to get some help with. It's all available for you today, and you can unlock that inner champion at Victory Men's Health. Read all about what they can do for you at victorymenshealth.com. That is where you book that first appointment online at Victory Men's Health and victorymenshealth.com. Alongside Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. So we all mentioned yesterday, not a big fan of the expansion of the NCAA tournament. Not something we're particularly interested in. However, there are some potential unintended consequences of this. And for Mizzou, I think they could actually be pretty positive. Dennis Gates was in my neck of the woods, Alex, St. Charles yesterday. Out to Chicken and Pickle, hanging out for his Zoo in the Lou tour. I actually wasn't aware that they were doing this, so I probably would have gone over there, but I did not end up going. He was asked about his scheduling. It's been a point of contention among Mizzou fans in recent years. I'm not a particularly big fan of the way that he schedules. I wish he played more quality opponents. He said the following: I think what happens is when you look at scheduling, you have to mesh it with where the selection committee is. So with the addition of spots in the NCAA tournament, I think we've got to increase our strength of schedule. All right, Dennis.
Somebody listens to BK and Ferrario.
Because the opportunity to get in there as a, not only a 20-win team, but something near below, it definitely is going to be there if you look at the teams that missed it a year ago that are predicted they could have gotten into it if there was an increase to the 76 teams. So when you look at strength of schedule, you want to cover that route. When you look at fan participation and neutral site games, there's an advantage in the net for that. There's an advantage in all kinds of metrics in that. But also, strength of schedule is going to be able to prepare your team for the conference play. I think we've done a good job of that by having Kansas and Illinois and the SEC, ACC challenge in the past. But what other games are there? I think you have the opportunities that are available, whether it's in Chicago, Kansas City, or even trying to figure out more games in St. Louis, which is important to us. Love it. If this is something they're legitimately considering, they've already talked about, they're adding this game with Marquette next year in Chicago as a quote-unquote neutral site game between the two. If they add a couple more of these, maybe one in KC, one in St. Louis, maybe they're doing some at Mizzou, whatever. I'm all in. That sounds awesome. Right now, for most Mizzou fans, the season does not actually begin until January. You got a couple of games that you pay attention to. You've got the annual bragging rights game. You've got the Kansas game. That's kind of it, though. You got maybe like an ACC, SEC game, but that's it. There's nothing else that gets you going. If they are able to have some legit schools on their schedule, I think more Mizzou fans will pay attention earlier in the season, the way that Illinois fans do because of the way that Brad Underwood schedules in the non-conference slate. So this is a potential unintended consequence that I think could be a beneficial thing for Mizzou fans.
Yeah, I think people get more excited when you see that competition, and you feel better about your team too throughout the season because you feel like you're going through the trials and tribulations of taking on those. You're getting hardened for the conference play once you get closer to it, and you feel like you can judge the team a little bit better when it comes to are they a tournament team or not. I mean, we'd have the conversation nonstop, and we're going back and forth of them playing tight games against these teams that aren't the same competitive level. But I think the entertainment factor is the more important thing for Mizzou. Like if you're talking about scheduling more in this area to where people are able to gravitate towards Mizzou, and you're getting the competitiveness with a roster that looks like it's going to be pretty good this season, that's what you need to do if you're Mizzou and feel like you can go through that battle test early on.
Last year, Illinois played Texas Tech, Alabama, Connecticut, Tennessee, and Mizzou. Those were 5 of their non-conference games.
You guys were easy, but yeah.
We didn't hit our stride yet.
No. When was that stride hit?
Towards the end of the season by the SEC.
Oh.
What made us a tournament team?
Through. They peaked a little early. Midway through the SEC.
It made them a tournament team. I don't know if you were there for it.
I was actually there for it.
Mizzou already on its schedule for next year. We'll have Illinois. They'll have Kansas. They'll have that, whatever you want to call it, the
SEC ACC
challenge. And now they've got the game against Marquette. If you add in 1 or 2 more, now I think you're talking about a legit non-conference slate that will prepare you, as Alex said, for the SEC and get Mizzou fans excited about the schedule prior to December. Because last year, this is who they played in the month of November. Howard, SEMO, VMI, Prairie View A&M, South Dakota, South Carolina State, Cleveland State, and then they had one other game where they were up against Minnesota in that Big Ten challenge.
Howard was a tournament team, I'm pretty sure.
They were.
All right.
Those teams,
like you're complaining.
How'd they do in the tournament?
The only team among those that was ranked in the top 200 in KenPom, top 200, was Minnesota at 82, and then Howard was just on the inside at 196. Get some more legit opponents, please. That would be favorable.
The unintended consequences, though, is your coach has to go and coach those games against those higher-level opponents.
Yikes.
And then you get a really good idea on Dennis Gates, which...
Yikes. I don't know about
Somebody said play Slew, end of story. I'd be in favor of it.
That'd be fun.
I think next year would be a great season for both of those teams to match up against each other. Slew's in a good spot. There's clear excitement among that fan base. I think Mizzou's in a pretty good spot going into next season. There's legitimate excitement among that fan base. If ever there was a time where it does actually make sense, this would be the year.
I'll be curious because I don't know how much I buy into this adds to the reason expanded tournament adds into why you should schedule more tough non-con opponents. I'm not sure it matters as much. I do think it helps for the mid-majors.
I'll explain why I think it actually does kind of make sense. I think it makes sense because now the floor, it's easier to get in. So a team like Auburn last year, they scheduled a ridiculous non-conference. Like one of the reasons why their record was so bad, but their predictive metrics were good, is because in the non-conference slate, they scheduled Houston, Oregon, Michigan, St. John's, NC State, Arizona, Purdue, those 7 teams in the non-con. That's ridiculous, man. Like, that's an absurd slate once they got into the non-conference. And then they get into conference play, they're right a little below 500, and like there just wasn't enough to make up for it, that they were not great against those teams that I just mentioned. So the floor drops out at the bottom, whereas if they played Mizzou's non-conference late last year, they probably would have made the NCAA tournament. So the floor is higher when you schedule the way that Dennis Gates does. That all you have to do is get close to 500 in conference play, and you get into the tournament. The ceiling's lower. But now the floor doesn't really matter, because if you're just slightly below average as an SEC team, you're getting into the tournament. So by scheduling these tougher teams, you're not penalized as much if you potentially lose them as you were previously.
Yeah, I guess and I don't even know if it's a counter,
and
but
the upside is better.
My argument would be Auburn was just ridiculous in what they did, and too many of those big non-con games. You probably should balance it out a little bit better, like Illinois did, and not do as less as Mizzou did. But I wonder if this will be something that adds and helps those mid-major programs, because Josh Schertz is right. I know he's been one that's complained about it. I can't remember which school it was, the High Point. No one wants to come play us because there was no real benefit to it. And I know there's still not a benefit to it. Though. But I think now it's because of what you're talking about. It's easier to get into the tournament. You can add maybe one mid-major program to your schedule. Why would I schedule
a mid-major when I can just schedule an actual high major?
Well, what I'm saying is why schedule one of these like non-competitive games, right? Why schedule VMI when I could why not make something a little interesting that we're going to win, we think, but we're going to schedule SLU, for example.
SLU I could see because they're expected to be good.
Sure, but that's my point is these mid-majors that you think are going to be good. I've never fully understood. I think
there's only a few of those, though.
Yeah, but even them, they can't get people to schedule them, right? Like SLU couldn't get them. If you wanted to put VCU in this, VCU really couldn't get any non-con games. I've always found that to be a pathetic excuse of why we don't want to play them.
To be clear, if I'm like Indiana, I'm not scheduling SLU. There's no upside to it.
Yeah.
If I'm Michigan, I'm not scheduling SLU. Why would I do that?
Yeah.
If I'm Mizzou, I would, because it's an in-state thing.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's value in that to get both fan bases excited. Same reason why they play Illinois. Same reason why they play Kansas, because there's a natural potential rivalry there. But for these other teams, I still wouldn't do that. I would just if I'm Michigan, I'll play Mizzou or Kansas or some of these other teams that are legit Power 5 opponents that I know there's no way they're going to hurt my strength of schedule by the end of the season. I'm not positive on SLU if I'm one of these other teams. I think they're going to be good next year, but I'm not positive on that. And if they're not as good as I expect and they're in the A10 and they end up not being great, well, that's going to hurt my strength of schedule. So I don't think there's the same upside for these other teams. I don't know if it really helps the mid-major programs. I think it helps Power 5 teams. Schedule other Power 5 teams. I think that's what you're going to see more of, but I'm in favor of that. If that's the benefit of this, cool, great by me. Means I get more quality, high-level hoops earlier in the season. I think that's a benefit. I'm good with it. If that's what the NCAA tournament expansion allows for, I'm actually not as opposed to it as I was initially. I still don't love it, but it'll at least give us more high-level hoops earlier in the season.
I'd rather have competitive basketball early on than have to wait till 2 months into the season. I feel like we've had a decent amount of high competitive hoops outside Mizzou. Mizzou did their thing. But, I've had no complaints with Illinois' schedule. They've done the thing where they've scheduled, BK ran through their schedule. Sure, they had a couple cupcakes in there, but for the most part, I felt like every week I had a good game to look forward to.
Could we get more of those now, though? That'd be cool to me. I'd be into it. Because Illinois is doing this.
What we had.
I think, Duke has done some of this. I think Kansas has done some of this. Kentucky has done some of this. The legit blue blood programs, they're already doing this. It's the teams that don't have that blue blood status that are like, we'll go ahead and schedule the lesser than teams. The teams that we kind of have a pretty good idea are going to be around 300 in the KenPom rankings. So that way we get to the end of the season and we've racked up the wins.
Well, let's also call a spade a spade. Nobody cares about strength of schedule anymore because everybody gets into the tournament.
Amen, brother.
76 teams. Sooner or later, it's going to be like 86 teams. Everyone gets in.
Farley, we're just going to have everybody in the tournament.
Participation trophy for everyone.
Actually, never mind. We couldn't put everybody in because how dare we help the mid-majors or help the non-mid-majors.
Coming up next, we'll answer some of the questions from JR's survey. We'll get into that next here on 101 ESPN.
Tanner Hendrickson here with the Sports Center update brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling. Cardinals currently in action as they're taking on the Pittsburgh Pirates as they are going for the sweep of the four-game series. They currently lead Pittsburgh 4-0 in the bottom of the fourth inning as Hunter Dobbins is making his Cardinals debut today so far. 0 runs allowed through 3 2/3 innings covered. We'll keep you updated on the score today here on 101 ESPN. The Sports Center update was brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling, a Daikin heating and air conditioning dealer.
With Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. You've got BK and Ferrario here on 101 ESPN. All right, Alex, so earlier today, Jeremy Rutherford had a piece up over on The Athletic. Blues fan survey. bunch of different questions for Blues fans. I wanted to get some of your thoughts on this. We can do this kind of roundtable style here on BK and Ferrario. Let's start out with this. Do you consider the 2025-2026 season a step forward in the team's retool? Yes or no?
I'd say yes. And
Interesting.
And it's mostly because you had a year of development for guys that you didn't plan to. And I think in the retool, the biggest piece of a retool is finding out what your prospects are. And you found out from about 5 of them in terms of Dvorsky, Lindstein, Stenberg, and a few others. So I would say yes in that front, although I can totally understand the opposite side of it.
I would go the opposite side.
I would too. I would say no, because I think you're almost starting a new retool that has to be judged differently. Because I think this year they thought that they were going to play better. Now, that doesn't mean they thought they were going to be top 3 in the division, but they definitely had playoff aspirations. Yeah. And then they found out this core was a failure, right? The Kyrou, Thomas, and Booch core just doesn't work. And they were having conversations of trading Thomas. They were having conversations of trading Kyrou in season. I would say, yes, this retool did not take a step forward. I think this was a regression into a new retool.
I'm not as far in that side as T-Bone is, but I lean more in that direction. I think you got so many negative answers early in the season that it made you question where you're at right now. Mm-hmm. And you got positive answers in the second half of the season that made you feel like you're in a good spot with Logan Mailloux, Robert Thomas, Dylan Holloway, Jimmy Snuggerud. I'd say Joel Hofer fits into that category as well. Broberg definitely. So it was a mixed bag overall, but it felt very similar to 2 years ago, where for half the season you felt terrible, for half the season you felt good. I've already seen that movie before. The sequel wasn't nearly as enjoyable for me. Mm-hmm. So I'll say no, I do not consider it a step forward. I think you're stuck in neutral right now in this retool. Who was the Blues' most disappointing player? Binner, Booch, Kyrou, Parayko, or somebody else?
I think this is the other, and I think it's Toropchenko, right?
I thought you were being serious for about a half a second.
I thought he was too, until he said Toropchenko.
Yeah, once he said Torpo, I was like, oh, okay, this is a shot.
I was running in my head going, who on earth would be the other?
I think it's down to 2 players. I don't think the 4.
Torpo and who?
Walker.
Oh, yeah, it's true.
It's the 4th line.
Booch or Kyrou. I think those are the 2 guys that are legitimate.
Yeah, and I would lean more Kyrou. I mean, as disappointing of a season as it was for Booch, he still got 20 goals and he still gave you 50-plus points, and he still played in a lot of defensive areas, and it was an area that was good down the stretch. Still disappointing, but I think it's clear-cut Jordan Kyrou.
I'm with you because my expectations weren't as high for Booch. Yeah. So while Booch, yes, was disappointing and frustrating, it wasn't all that surprising. Kyrou was pretty shocking. Mm-hmm. I thought you could see him regress defensively, where he wasn't a plus 23 this year, but man, the guy had half as many goals and nearly half as many points as he did a year ago. Yeah. That's surprising.
And he missed the net so much this season compared to years past. It's like the accuracy was just nowhere to be found for Jordan Kyrou.
Yeah, I agree. It's Jordan Kyrou, and I know we had the conversation about his knee. Like, even if you want to take the side of, hey, maybe the knee compromised him, he's too talented not to be a 20-goal scorer, right? And a 50-point guy. Mm-hmm. So I agree. He was the biggest disappointment. And I was kind of with BK. I had lower expectations on Booch coming in the year. But even with those low expectations, yes, he disappointed. But like Alex said, he at least scored 20 goals this year.
And if you think about it, he lost all of his jobs. I mean, he lost the job of being a top 6 winger with Dylan Holloway. Like, they thought that was a pairing. You lost the job on the power play. And frankly, in a lot of games down the stretch, he didn't see the ice late when they needed to either hold on to a lead or try and come back into the games.
The next
overtime as well.
The next 2 games we've spent a lot of time talking about, so I don't want to spend too much time here. Should the Blues trade Robert Thomas? No. Would you be okay with the Blues selling low on Jordan Kyrou? We'll talk about that ad nauseum over the next few weeks. Would you attach a first-round pick to Pavel Buchnevich to trade him?
No, I would not. I think that is at least a piece that I can win with as a 3rd or a 4th line player. And I know people get angry because he's an $8 million player, but I still think he's a guy that can give you penalty kill minutes, play it 5-on-5, and be good defensively for you. He's just not a top 6 forward. I would be more likely to attach a first-round pick to trade Jordan Kyrou than Pavel Buchnevich.
I'm conflicted on this one. My honest to God answer is it depends. That's a terrible answer for radio.
I like it, though.
But it does depend.
Well, riding the fence.
It depends on, and I'm not riding the fence here. Like, I'm definitive one way or the other. No.
Depends on what you're getting back in return.
To me, it's about what the offseason plan is. If your plan this offseason is to run it back with most of your forwards and you're going to make some kind of a significant upgrade elsewhere, like I could see a scenario where you say, hey, Booch is actually blocking our ability to have Carbonneau and Stenberg, and if you like Berggren into the mix right here, we can't have that. That is a progress stopper for us. So, yeah, we'd prefer not to have to deal a first-round pick to move him off of the roster, but we also would have preferred not to have to deal a second-round pick to move Kevin Hayes, but we did it because we viewed it as necessary for our team to make that next step forward. So it depends for me. It's not something I would be urgently attempting to do. But if the offseason goes in a certain kind of way and you feel like he's blocking somebody, I would not be opposed to doing so.
The reason I asked about the pick is because I agree with what you said there, but I don't know that I'm trading 16 or 11, which is the odds of where they're going to land. I think it'd have to be the Colorado pick.
I'd be okay with him trading the Detroit pick.
Yeah, I would rather hang on to that. I think it's just more valuable for that pick than and I get, look, I understand where you would come from that because as we've seen with the 16th overall pick, it's kind of 50-50 if you get a NHLer with that pick. The Blues have proven that they're pretty good when it comes to those middle rounds. That's why I would say, like, am I actively trying to trade Booch? Not unless it's kind of part of the plan. And then if I'm actively doing it, the only first-round pick I'm willing to give up is Colorado's pick.
I think all three of those picks are more crucial to your chance of maybe moving up in this draft to get a much better player now than it would be to pay to get rid of a guy. And I think Booch plays the style that Jim Montgomery wants the team to play. It's just, one, stop playing him at center, and two, don't play him in your top six.
All right, a couple other things here for the JR piece from earlier today, the Blues fan survey. You can check this all out over at The Athletic, and you can put together your answers, be a part of the questions for JR. The biggest need for the Blues this offseason is what? He has 4 different options here. Depth defensively, fourth line upgrades, second line center, or secondary scoring. Which of those 4 would you put as the biggest need for the Blues?
Mine's second line center. I think secondary scoring gets fixed if you have a second line center. And I know people will say you're blocking Dalibor Dvorsky. I don't think it's blocking it more than it's creating a competition between Dvorsky and somebody else to fight for that spot. But with Neighbors, with Carbonneau, with Otto Stenberg, with potentially a really good pick in this year's draft, you've got secondary scoring. You've got to have a center that can bring the best out of that secondary scoring.
I would say second line center as well. If you're going to get aggressive, that's the spot to look for, unless it's Brady, right? Brady comes available, we change the conversation. Yeah. But I would say second line center because I agree with what you said. That has the trickle-down effect of fixing your secondary scoring. And if Dvorsky does develop into a number 2 center, well, guess what? You've got him under control for what? The next 5 years or so? Mm-hmm. As Alex points out, the best teams in the playoffs have depth up the middle. So it's okay to have a guy that's, quote-unquote, a number 2 center. If he's playing on your third-line center, that's a great problem to have. So I would say upgrading second-line center.
I'm in agreement. I think that's the spot that I would try to upgrade as well. And final question here for you. Would you be okay with a starting defensive unit next year that includes Mayu, Theo Lindstein, and 2024 first-round pick Adam Jiricek? Those guys are 23, 21, and 19 years old, respectively.
Yes, but I'd have a caveat with it as long as Colton Parayko's on this team. Because if Parayko's gone, I don't think so. That's too much youth and not enough veteran. But with that starting 3 there, I've also got Broberg, Parayko, and Cam Fowler playing with those players.
I would say yes, no caveat needed. If they traded Parayko because they thought it upgraded the organization, look, they're in a retool. I don't know if playoffs are actual real expectations for this team next year, with or without Parayko. It's time to get the young guys some playing time. So, yeah, I would say yes, no matter what the situation was.
I'm in agreement with T-Bone. All right, coming up on the other side, we're going to do an atypical junk drawer. We're going to talk baseball here because I want to get your thoughts on how you would handle the situation if you were Ollie Marmol in the game that's taking place right now. We'll talk about that next here on 101 ESPN. This is going to be an atypical juncture today. Normally, we'd talk about something like the J.P. Morgan story. Instead, today, we're going to talk a little bit about baseball. The Cardinals right now are in an interesting spot, Alex. They're up 4-1 in the top of the 5th inning. JJ Wetherholt is on second base. They've got one out. Now, what happens in this inning may influence the decision that I'm about to ask about. But in the last inning, it was really the first time that we saw Hunter Dobbins struggle today. He was flying through the first few innings, looked really good. And then in the 4th, you saw some of the velo start to dip a little bit by the end of the inning, and that could have been in part because he threw 25 pitches in said inning. He also walked 3 consecutive batters, ultimately allowing one of them to score. Would you take him out, go to your pen, which is mostly rested today? I think the only guy that's probably down, this is my assumption, not knowing the internal stuff, but my guess is Soriano's the only guy that's probably unavailable. Or do you leave him in there, let him work through this, and kind of see how things progress? Cardinals just scored Burley with an RBI single. They're now up 5-1.
I leave him in there.
Did that run change it at all for you? Okay.
No, I was going to say leave him in there regardless. Now, he's got a leash because if things get out of hand quickly in that next inning, then I'm going to get him out of there before the chance of the game is lost. But, I mean, you're at the big leagues. We need you to pitch another inning for us. I think with Hunter Dobbins, it was a rough inning. You hope he can reset it, and I think it's an opportunity to really see what he's made of in this spot. So, I'd throw him back out there, and if he gives up a couple of walks in his first 2 at-bats or he gives up a couple of hits, then I go to my bullpen and I tell him they're on ready, but I go out there no matter what.
Yeah, I think he has to start the 5th. Even if it was 4-1, I would say that as well. Hope that getting in the dugout, kind of reset for a minute, can kind of get him back in a little bit of a rhythm there. It probably would have been a shorter leash because it was a 3-run game. Now it'll be a little bit longer with it extending to 4 and potentially more in this inning. But I think you throw him out there, and I think it's twofold. One, he's not at a ton of pitches, so you need to try and get him to go a little bit deeper, especially when you're in the midst of 17 games in 17 days. And they'll know the answer to this. If they're going another turn through this rotation with a 6-man, they really need him to get a little bit deeper because they're down a bullpen arm. And then the other thing for me is, as we yelled at each other about in the first hour, I have no faith in that bullpen to bridge the gap to JoJo and O'Brien.
You just don't want to see Stanek or Brule.
Or a bunch of the other arms. But
you like Graceffo and O'Brien and Romero.
But I just don't think you got enough arms to bridge that gap to get to O'Brien and Romero. So as much as he didn't look good in that last half inning, I'm going to trust him over. I'm going to trust Brule, Stanek in the middle of that bullpen.
I think you're going to need those bullpen arms in the next 3 games.
That was my thing. Tomorrow you've got Libby.
Oh, he'll shut down the Dodgers.
I don't know how that's going to go.
9.
Yeah.
If you had McGreevy tomorrow, if you flipped him and Libby, I might consider just going to the bullpen, getting super aggressive right now, saying, hey, Graceffo, you've got the next 2 innings, and you're going to be my bridge to the back end of our pen. They don't have McGreevy going tomorrow, so I'm going to try to push it. I would also say for me, I know this was not the case for you guys, that extra run, that insurance run that they just scored would change things a little bit. If it was a 3-run game instead of a 4-run game, I'd be more likely to have that bullpen up and ready, even if you do allow for him to go back out there in the next inning. I think this now allows for the situation that they had with Leahy a couple of days ago, where they allow him to experience this. All right, you just lost your command for an inning. You were able to get out of it. You felt that. Now, how do you adjust when you go back out to the mound for the bottom of the 5th? Yeah. What does it look like for you as you're making these adjustments on the fly? And it's not AAA hitters that you're trying to get out anymore. Now it's major leaguers on the other side that can take advantage if you lose your command.
And that's why, regardless of the scenario, 3-run game, 4-run game, I was going back out there because, for me, I want to see what you're made of. Because if he's going back down to Memphis after this game next week, take the tools of what you just learned of you lost your command, and if you get blown up in that inning, all right, well, now you know where you need to really focus on before your next start at the major league level.
There are no dumb questions, but so using that as a caveat, does it change at all that you've won the series already for you guys?
Dumb question, man.
No.
There's no dumb questions.
No, it doesn't change it at all.
That doesn't influence it for me.
Yeah.
Because for me, like, if you wanted to be less aggressive, that would influence it for me because you've already done your job in Pittsburgh. That would be another reason for me to push it. If this was hey, we're trying to earn a split in Pittsburgh, then I might be willing to be a little bit more aggressive. Or if we were at home and our fans were really into the game,
I don't really get into that stuff. Like, to me, It's about winning as many games over the course of 162 as opposed to winning individual series. So I don't get overly aggressive for like any one individual series. I view it more in like the full 162. But I get it. I think there are a lot of people that view it the way you do, T-Bone. I think more people probably view it that way.
As that snowballs into how you get to where you want to be, 90 wins, whatever the mark is.
He's T-Bone. That's Alex. I'm BK. It's BK and Ferrario here on 101 ESPN. Cardinals up 5-1 in the top of the 5th inning. We'll continue to keep you updated as anything progresses there. Speaking of progression, JJ Wetherholt is progressing a lot quicker than I expected him to, Alex. Bernie Miklas asked this question earlier today. I want to ask it of you guys as well. Is he better than you expected him to be at this point? We'll talk about that next year on 101 ESPN. Alongside Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. First batter up, 4 straight balls for Hunter Dobbins. A splitter, 3-4 seams. They came in at 93, 93, and 93.
It's okay. It's okay.
That is well down from his average velo on the day. It looks like Hunter Dobbins is kind of running into a wall here in the bottom of the 5th inning.
Had our challenges.
I was going to say that should have been a challenge. That was
and
the
reason
nastiest pitch I've
brought
seen.
that up was because we just debated in the last commercial break about Herrera burning the last challenge in the 5th.
That was so nasty.
So for anybody not watching right now, by the way, he did end up getting the strikeout.
Called it.
Swing and miss. For anybody not watching, ball don't lie. Hunter Dobbins had a 1-2 pitch. It appeared to be in the zone. It was called a ball. In the previous inning, there was a 1-2 pitch that Ivan Herrera challenged that was very close. And ultimately, it was confirmed correct. He struck out. T-Bone said, not sure if you go ahead and challenge that there just because you're up 5-1. It doesn't make a huge difference right here. Maybe you just go ahead and let that one go and you go back to the dugout. It would have been nice to have that there. Ultimately, all's well that ends well. Hunter Dobbins gets the strikeout there. Okay, so earlier today I was on Twitter, and Alex Bernie Miklas asked what is I think a fair question right now. Is JJ Wetherholt better than you expected? Just flat out. Is he a better player at this point than you were anticipating coming into the season?
Yeah.
For me, the answer is a definitive yes. Like, no doubt about it. The guy, especially when it comes to power and defense, those were 2 areas that I thought the defense would take a little bit of time, especially after what we saw from him in spring training at second. And I thought the power, that he would be a doubles hitter that maybe gets you to 15 or 20 home runs this year, which is not a bad thing. That's a really good player. And then you look up right now and he's at 7 and we're 31 games into the regular season. It's like, oh, damn, is this guy going to hit 25 or 30 this year? Is that in play for him? And it appears to be. So my answer is yes. I do think he's better than I expected at this point in the season. Would you agree with that, Alex?
Yeah, absolutely. Because I thought he would be a much better batting average on base than what he is. I didn't think we'd see much power, and I thought the defense was going to be fine. He's been one of the best defenders at second base this season, and the power is what, now 6-7 home runs? I mean, I didn't expect to see that at all from JJ Wetherholt at this point. Like, we made the comps early in the season. Bo Bichette was the one that kept getting brought up. Now it's feeling more and more like, yeah, it's actually a reality that could happen for him. So, yeah, he has exceeded my expectations in his rookie year.
Yeah, he's much better than I expected for his rookie year because I thought he was going to be a guy that was more of a slap hitter to start things off because I'd hear about the hit tool and I go, okay, yeah, maybe he drives ball a little bit with authority, but at the big league level, it's tougher for that to translate. So he'd be more of a slap-hitting singles guy, and then maybe he'd add a little bit of power with, like, in the gaps power, right? Doubles, not home runs. And then I thought defensively, like, I mean, you saw it in spring training at the very beginning of spring. You know, he had a little bit of the yips defensively, was making a couple of errors. And I know BK doesn't like spring training stats. I do think errors are one that can translate.
Defense, I think, is different. I said a couple of years ago with Gorman, we saw some improvements from him defensively. That stuff translates, I think, to the regular season.
And I agree. I agree that defense translates a little bit better to the regular season. But so I thought you were going to see a guy that was like league average, right? And I made reference to this a lot just because I felt like there had to be the cautionary tale or some caution put on him coming into his rookie campaign. Bobby Witt was league average in his first year. And Bobby Witt's a stud. Like, there's no questioning that. So I thought it was going to be kind of like that, right? He's league average, and then we'll hope to see him take off in year 2. I mean, from day one, you could just tell he was a little different. And the reason I say that is because he was dictating at bats from day one of, I'm going to control the count. Never looks like he's nervous up there at the plate. Has a great batter's eye, which is much better than I was expecting. He's driving the ball with more authority. And then to Alex's point on his defense, he looks like a Gold Glover at second base right now. And I don't think that's too much of an overreaction to what we've seen from him at second. And by the way, he's stealing bases too.
Yeah.
Like, he's doing everything. You asked this question the other day, BK. What's the one flaw in his game? And I said, well, his batting average right now. But I think that's going to tick up once people start coming in the zone for him.
And the batting average as a leadoff man is just not that important batting average does have meaning in some spots. Like, I do think sometimes people go overstating when they say, hey, like, batting average doesn't matter. No, it does. In certain situations, like, you got a runner on second, you got one out. Batting average matters there more than you're on base. You want to drive that runner in, or you at least want to get him over. That's more important than just getting on in that specific situation. So there's value in it. But as a leadoff hitter, your job is to be the guy that's on for the next guy that's coming up. And with this lineup, the way that it's constructed right now, those guys I trust to drive him in. And guess what? They're doing so at a really high rate. So far this year, JJ Wetherholt has scored 27 runs. Let me say that one more time. JJ Wetherholt, in his first 31 career games, has scored 27 runs. To put this in context, the last Cardinal to score at least 27 runs in their first 31 career games was Wally Moon in 1954. Most of you listening right now were not alive. And by the way, if you were alive and like in your prime when Wally Moon plays, thank you so much for listening here. As it's 1:10, your time check brought to you by Clarkson Jewelers and officially licensed.
You could be getting a midday nap in right now.
We'd love to hear from you and some of your stories about Wally Moon from his 1954 season that I'm sure you remember fondly. The other guy is Jim Bottomley in 1922, and I'm very positive none of you listening right now got to see him play in 1922.
I bet Gene Keady did.
So for most of you listening right now, God bless you, man. For most of you listening, you have seen JJ Wetherholt do something that you've never seen a Cardinals player do in your history watching the Cardinals. No, not Albert Pujols. No, not Yadier Molina. Not Matt Carpenter. Not Paul DeYoung. Nobody. Nobody in the history of your experience watching the Cardinals has scored this many runs in their first 31 career games. That's remarkable, man. That's a pretty incredible statistic for him to be able to put together when we had no idea what his game was going to translate like at this point in the season. And we also didn't have a whole lot of faith that even if he was better than we expected, the guys behind him would be able to drive him in this season. And that's been happening at a pretty ridiculous rate so far this year.
Yeah, top of the lineup is something that is part of the reason that gets you excited about this team. I mean, you're not only Wetherholt, but you've got Herrera and Burleson and then Jordan Walker at 1 through 4 for the longest time. It's felt like we've always complained about they don't have a leadoff hitter. They don't have a guy that can hit in the 2-hole. They don't have a cleanup hitter. And now you've got 4 guys that it feels like as soon as Wetherholt gets on base, you just assume they're going to be up by 1 because of those guys behind him. So, again, I don't know, like, long-term big picture, if any of those guys are the core pieces other than Wetherholt. Maybe Walker is if you get this consistency. But, man, if anything, you found 4 guys that as you move through this rebuild, they may make it go faster because all 4 of them can come up in big situations for you.
The only players in Major League Baseball that have scored more runs this year than JJ Wetherholt are Drake Baldwin, who's having a ridiculous start to the season for the Atlanta Braves, James Wood, another stud, and some guy by the name of Mike Trout, who's once again back to apparently being prime like 50. Mike Trout. He's getting on base 43% of the time, and he has an OPS of 1,000. What? Like, Mike, what? You're 34. You've been bad or hurt, and mostly hurt, for like the last 5 years, and now you're just back to being the greatest player that we've ever seen again. It's absurd. I'd be into that.
Cardinals should push all of their chips in. You want butts in the seats? Go get Mike Trout.
BK just read off all those incredible numbers for Mike Trout, and you'd go, wow, the Angels must be good. No.
Well, no, because he's the only guy that can do that on that team.
Mike Trout still has 4 more years on his contract at $37 a year after this season.
They are 12 and 20 on the year.
Go get him.
Are they really?
Yeah. They have lost 6 in a row and 9 of their last 10.
You want to put butts in the seats?
In all seriousness, Alex, would you consider it?
Absolutely.
T-Bone, would you consider it?
No.
I absolutely would.
He's dealt with so many injuries that this feels like a one-off.
You're going to be
definitely on the decline.
You're going to be cheap for the next 4 years. It's like in attendance, you get the butts in the seats to go see Mike Trout. Absolutely.
I wouldn't because of the salary and what it would prevent you from doing. If you're willing to pay $37 million a year for somebody, he's just not the guy that I would do it for. I would be willing to do that if you're like trading for some 26-year-old that's about to hit free agency and you do the classic Cardinals thing and then you extend to them for the next decade.
I didn't hear any 26-year-olds that are doing what Mike Trout's doing right now.
James Wood, Jake Baldwin.
Well, you're not going to get those guys.
JJ Wetherholt, just extend him, right?
Well, yeah, might as well, right?
Are you guys changing your tune on that conversation at all?
No.
Okay, cool. We're on
Every once in a while, I feel like it's like, ooh, maybe, and then the intrusive thoughts go away.
I saw our guy Rock earlier today.
I saw his tweet, too, that he thinks less of you because of it. So he thinks less of all 3 of us.
Rockio?
Yeah. You know what those arguments would be like if he was here? He'd be yelling really loud.
God, I want to call him right now.
We
Just be like, hey, man, can we get you for 5
Rock,
minutes?
if you're listening, you call in right now so we can argue with you. It's a trash take, buddy.
He said, I think less of you as a human being if you don't think that the Cardinals should give JJ Wetherholt an extension.
Wow, strong words.
I understand the sentiment. The idea is like, man, this guy's awesome. I want to see him play for the Cardinals for a really long time, but you're already going to do that. You're not, it's not like he's either here for the next 10 years or he's gone next year. You've got him for 6 no matter what, if you want him for 6. And the question is like, is it worth it to buy out a couple more years right now by paying an extra $50 million over the next 6? To me, the answer is no.
I couldn't focus. I just looked behind me and I saw who's on the mound. Oh, my God.
Rules got it.
Yeah, an update on the Cardinals game.
God, this is going to play so well in the argument early in the show.
It really did not go well for Hunter Dobbins in the 5th inning. Walked the first guy that he saw on 4 pitches, then struck out the next guy swinging, and then the next one walked on 6 pitches.
I'm on pins and needles to see who uses tone towards the other in this next pitch from Brule.
Brule was able to
I
get
need some Tums.
Low Loud to fly out in his first at bat, and now he's pitching to Brian Reynolds. It's a 2-2 count. Cardinals are up 5-1 with 2 on and 2 outs in the bottom of the 5th inning.
It's going to be so much tone when this guy hits a home run.
If he does, it's still a 5-4 game.
And BK will still say there's a reason Justin Brule's on the team.
Yeah.
No.
Because BK likes it when the games are interesting.
Yeah, sorry. There is a reason why he's on the team, and it's to give up that double that he just allowed as my guy Nathan Church was flying into the wall.
I wonder what the expected batting average on that one was.
I bet pretty high because he gives up a lot of loud contact. But don't worry, we're going to fix him.
Hey, well, the guy that you could be putting in that
After he
spot,
potentially cost us a couple games.
the
But yeah, okay.
the guy you could put in that spot can't get outs at the major league level. He never has done so.
Alex.
Let's churn.
Hey, can I just talk to Alex for a second? This is not towards T-Bone.
Sure.
Alex, his average exit velocity off the bat is 87th percentile. People never hit it hard against Justin Brule other than that right there.
You know what we
He
care
has a
about?
lot of issues. That is not one.
I'm entering the chat again. You know what we care about? Runs, right? We just talked about it with Wetherholt. What's Brule do a lot of?
No, but
You also can't say
runs.
your criticism specifically
He stinks,
was
okay? I don't
he
care
gives
what
up
the
a lot.
contact is.
Time out real quick.
No,
I am
no,
responding to
no.
his criticism that Brule gives up a lot of hard contact by saying, actually,
Respond
sir,
to this one.
that is
Justin Brule
incorrect.
stinks.
Actually,
What you said, though, was incorrect. Your opinion
let me see if I can
was
do my best.
incorrect.
Let me see if I can do my best BK impression. Actually, you can't say he never gives up hard hit balls because he just did give up a hard hit ball.
Well, he did there, but on
he
the
never
season,
gives it up. But he
has
never.
not.
He never does it.
That would be like saying BK over here very rarely has tone. No, he does. He does. Just not right
No one
now.
would ever mistake that one by
I was going
accident.
to say that's an obvious one.
Yeah.
Coming up next, believe it or not, here on 101 ESPN.
I need this. BK's been...
He's been rough today. I'm glad I'm off tomorrow.
Man, I may need tomorrow off. Believe it or not, I'm walking on air. I never thought I could feel so
free.
Flying away on a wing and a prayer.
Who could it be? I knew that was going to be rough.
Believe it or not, it's just me.
And it was so much worse than I expected.
I thought about, out of anger, just potting the music down, but I'm glad I didn't.
Sound like what a dying giraffe sounded like. It literally just happened on our show. By the way, my daughters now, they love when I make goat sounds because that's what, goats is. They love it.
Yeah, that's great.
So I make goat noises a lot in my house.
Do that at home.
Yeah, you just scream.
Leave it at home. Like I said,
I think it's hilarious.
Leave that at home. I'm glad you're 5 and under kids.
Or if you want a better comp, it's BK singing "Believe It or Not" is what it sounds like in my house.
Not all that different. 314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line.
Jeez.
For Believe It or Not.
Got like 3 comments on YouTube that just said oof.
Dr. Xander on YouTube says, we need a tone-vention.
Someone said they heard the voices of angels so ran to their computer.
There you go.
We do need a tone-vention. This has been a very Tony show today.
Where'd the squirt bottle go? He was getting better.
I don't know, man.
He's been rough today, man.
My Prozac was helping for a while.
Yeah, are you out? Is that why? Are you out, man?
We need to up the old dosage.
All right, let's do this. Believe it or not, here on 101 ESPN. Guys, believe it or not, JJ Wetherholt hits 30 home runs this year.
I'll say believe it. For the longest time, I've argued that they have a guy who can hit 30 home runs, and now they might have 2.
Yeah.
I'm still saying not. At some point, I think he's going to run into a little bit of a wall, and I think he's going to go cold at some point, and then he'll have to adjust, which I'm not too worried about. I think he will. I do think after we get past like 120 games is when you really start to see the full schedule start to wear on him, and that's when the power will start to sap a little bit. So I think he'll just miss. I'll say not believe it.
I'm in agreement with T-Bone. For the first time today, I think that he will go through enough struggles this year that he's not going to have 30 home runs. That doesn't mean it's a bad year if he gets to 25 or 20. But I think that will come with, 30-plus doubles for Wetherholt this season. So I'll say not. Alex?
Guys, believe it or not, both Carbonneau and Jiricek will start the season in the American Hockey League.
Not. I think at least one of them makes the NHL roster.
Yeah, I agree. I would say not. I think one's going to make it. I would lean Carbonneau over Jiricek just because I think they're going to trade Cairo or they're going to trade Boots, one of the two. And once they do that, now you've got that lane created for Carbonneau. I could see with defensemen, we know how they take longer to develop. I could see where they go the path of putting him in the AHL. I don't know how much development he'd actually get for that unstructured league, but I could see them going that path.
I think it's more likely, so I'll believe it, that they're not both down there. I'll not believe it, but I do think there's a real chance that both are down there. If they don't move Cairo and come back with the same scenario that JR painted, I don't see a place where Carbonneau's on the team, and they'll say, well, let's keep him. And if Steve Ott is the coach next year, I think they'll put a massive emphasis on, let's give him a month and just play with those guys for Steve Ott down in Springfield before they bring him up.
Guys, believe it or not, the NL Central will send 3 teams to the playoffs this year.
Man, I saw a stat on this earlier today that I'll go ahead and throw into the mix here. The NL Central will be the first division in National League history with every team at or above 500 at the beginning of the month of May. That's pretty insane. The National League has been playing baseball for a really long time. The American League has seen this happen 4 times, including 2023 with the AL East. The AL East has been the last 2 times in the American League and the only 2 times that we've seen it in either league since 2000. So to answer your question, say believe it, man. I guess the National League is down a little bit this year, and I think the National League's better than we expected it to be, and the Cardinals would be included in that. So I'll say believe it.
Yeah, I'll say believe it too. I for the longest time I didn't, but man, both the Mets and Phillies, I believe, can get things right, even if they do, man. You were talking a massive push to try and get to one of those spots, so I'll say believe it.
I think I would believe it, too, because, I look at the NL East, and I think it's just going to be the Braves. The Marlins are interesting, but I don't think they're going to be a playoff team. I don't think you're going to see the Phillies and Mets bounce back from this and get to the playoffs. And then I look at the West, and I go, okay, well, do I really believe in the Padres, who, their best hitters had their powers sapped from them? Arizona doesn't have enough pitching. don't believe in those two teams, and I really don't believe in San Fran from what we've seen from them so far, and we know Colorado's bad. I still believe in this Pittsburgh team. I still think they've got a shot at the playoffs, even though the Cardinals have smacked them around a little bit. The Reds' offense is suddenly starting to hit, which is interesting. The Cubs are a good team, and we know Milwaukee's a decent team. So, yeah, I would believe this. I think 3 are coming out of the NL Central.
All right, let's get to these from the text line. 314-399-9646 is the Your Comfort Service text line to get your scenarios in. Believe it or not, the Cardinals will have at least 4 players with 25 or more home runs.
Ooh.
I'm saying not. That seems like a lot.
Yeah, I think maybe 3. One of Burleson or Herrera, and then in my scenario, I said Walker and Wetherholt are 30 home run hitters.
One thing, and knock on wood, that this doesn't affect it at all, but one thing we have not seen yet is any injuries take place, and that could be something that influences this as well.
Yeah, I would say not believe it. I think I gave, real quick, kind of to this one, I think I gave this as one towards the end of the Blue season. Believe it or not, the Cardinals will finish with the same, if not more, 20 home run hitters than the Blues had 20 goal scorers.
How many did the Blues have again?
The Blues had 4.
20 home run hitters?
Well, they have the same or more.
Yeah, Wetherholt, Herrera, Burleson, Walker. I would say Gorman's probably going to get there. I think Church has a chance to get there. I don't know if the playing time will be there, though. So I'll say more. Yeah, believe it.
I'll say same. I think there's going to be 4. I don't think Gorman gets there, and I don't think the playing time is going to be there for Church.
I would say believe with the same. I'm kind of with you. I don't know if Church maybe, Gorman maybe. The playing time will be questionable.
From Alex, believe it or not, Brady Tkachuk will finish his contract out and sign with the Senators again.
Oh, not believe it.
He will re-sign with the Senators.
I don't think he's re-signing a contract with Ottawa. I think he will be going to another team. It's just a matter of trade or signing as a free agent.
I agree.
I would not believe it as well.
From the 636, believe it or not, the Oilers will make an aggressive trade offer for Jordan Binnington, but the Blues will decline.
What's an aggressive trade offer that Edmonton
That's what I was going to say.
I'm not believing it because I don't think they have the pieces to make an aggressive trade offer.
They give you they don't have their first round pick, do they?
No. And they have like 0 prospects in their pipeline that you'd be interested in. Their best pieces were Broberg and Holloway.
Yeah. Goalies just aren't a big splash trade that you see because they're just not valued across the league for whatever reason. I'd say not.
I do think offers that come in, Steen will decline unless it's one you just can't. They put a lot of emphasis on having a goaltender. You're going to have a guy who can play 40-plus games next year.
Yeah,
they have nothing.
They traded a first-round pick for Jake Wallman.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then they signed him to like a 9-year deal or something like that, I thought. Yeah. Same with Trent Frederick.
They also traded away next year's first-round pick as well for Jason Dickinson.
Yep, that was this year's trade deadline.
It's a reminder they just don't have a good GM.
Yeah, they don't.
It's also a reminder of how hard it is to put together, to consistently try to contend. Because, like, with Draisaitl and McDavid, you have to make aggressive moves. You have to.
It's not just those two, though. It's Evan Bouchard as well. I mean, you've got one of the best, if not the best, offensive defenseman in the game right now for what he's done. And
so you have to try. You have to keep,
they're trying
go for it.
They're trying for the wrong ways, though. They're going after it the wrong way. To win in hockey, in the playoffs, you need defense and goaltending.
I know, but it's easier said than done.
It is, but spending a first-round pick on Jake Wallman, that's not a defenseman that wins in the playoffs. Spending a first-round pick on Jason Dickinson, those guys are good. You need fourth-line players. That's not what wins in the playoffs, though. What wins in the playoffs are goaltenders who you traded for Tristan Jarry, who lost the net to Connor Ingram, and you need big, strong defensemen. The Dallas Stars traded a first-round pick, I believe, for Tyler Myers. That's what you go after when you want to try and win.
How's that going today?
Well, not good for them because they scratched him. But he's one of very many on that team that is like 6'4" and above.
I'm with you. It's easier, though, to have all of those guys when you're not paying $14 million to Leon Draisaitl, $12.5 million to Connor McDavid, $10.5 million to Evan Bouchard, $9.5 million to Darnell Nurse.
There's your problem.
Why you just can't win with guys making more than $10 million.
But there's your problem, though. You're paying $9.5 million to Darnell Nurse, who's playing like second pair, third pair minutes for you. And when you pay those guys a lot, you got to go out there and find other guys to do it for less.
From the 314, believe it or not, JJ Wetherholt is the best second baseman in all of Major League Baseball that you'd want on your team for the next 3+ years.
Ooh, that's fun.
How old is Nico Horner? He's older, right?
Yeah, he's like
28. 30. Yeah, I'd say believe it.
Trying to think, because there's not
It's not a stacked position.
And, well, the other thing, too, is there's not a ton of top prospects that get to your point on how it's not a stacked position. Because most of the top prospects are where Connor Griffin's at, right? The shortstop, or they're in, like, the corners. I think I would believe it, out of curiosity. Like, who are the best in terms of...
So Bryce Terang is interesting. He's 27, though. So I wouldn't go with him over JJ Wetherholt.
Yeah, I think it is probably.
I think JJ would probably be your number one pick.
Because a lot of these other guys that are at this position are older guys. Like Albies is getting up there in age.
Cole Young would be one of the guys that you'd put into this conversation.
How old is he?
He's only 22. He was a rookie last year for the Mariners. He'd be in the conversation. I think he probably would take JJ in that conversation over him. But beyond that, man, there's not a ton of second basemen that you would take over JJ Wetherholt. Here's a question for you. If I told you you're starting a team today, now the age is a factor here, but you're only worrying about the next 3 years. Would you rather have Ketel Marte on your team or JJ Wetherholt on your team? Set aside...
Like I'm trying to win for the next 3 years?
Set aside contract, set aside anything else that you want to take. Just if you're trying to win for the next 3 years, would you rather have JJ Wetherholt or Ketel Marte?
Are we counting the locker room stuff as stuff we're throwing to the side?
Yeah, because I am, because you can't win if you got that problem. So I'd say I'd rather have Wetherholt.
I would rather have Wetherholt, too, because of the issues I know that were presented in the locker room. Now, if you were just going based on what he did on the field, I would probably say Marte. But I know that if he's a problem in the locker room, that doesn't help you, as we're seeing in Arizona.
It's pretty cool. When was the last time the Cardinals had that? The number one guy at a respective position that you would want to build around for the next X number of years.
Albert Pujols.
It's been a while.
Yeah,
maybe Yachty, yeah. Would
Carpet
you say
second,
Carpenter
maybe?
When he was at second?
Jose Altuve would have been that guy, probably.
I don't
that's right,
think
'cause he
there
was
was a
up
lot
at
of that time with Carpenter.
Yeah. Probably would have been him.
Pitching-wise, Waino.
He wouldn't have been number one, though.
You know, like
I guess that's true.
in
his prime.
Different aces that would have been up and
maybe relievers you could have had somebody, but that's
we don't,
totally
as we
different
know, we don't build
conversation.
around relievers unless it's Justin Brule.
Well, he got out of the inning, and it's only a 2-run game.
That's right.
And he never gives up hard hit
He came in the game,
balls.
it was only a 4-run game.
He never gives up hard hit.
Speaking of Albert
Except for the
Pujols, he was on MLB Network yesterday reacting to the Nathan Church catch, and he was on MLB Network Radio earlier today giving his thoughts about the St. Louis Cardinals. We'll play some Albert audio for you next year on 101 ESPN.
Alex Ferrario with you to talk about my friends out at Classic Air Care, the HVAC company that has been making people comfortable since 1926, and a company that I've used since 2016 that bases everything off of their incredible customer service and the technicians that they provide to their customers. They've got a 5-star Google Plus rating, thousands of positive reviews about their service that they provide, like this one from Daniel. Griffin was on time, checked everything out, cleaned up after himself in a very professional manner. He was thorough, had great personality. The only thing I needed done was to put on a new humidifier filter, but I was very happy with everything that he did and would hope to have him out for our next appointments in the future. So call Classic Air Care today. There's only a day left in April, so you literally got to get on the phone now, but they have tune-ups available for you for $79 in April. They've got maintenance agreements that you can check in on that takes care of you throughout the entire year. Call them today to help out with your HVAC system. Or you could schedule your service online at classicaircare.com. Again, that's Classic Air Care and classicaircare.com.
Tanner Hendrickson here with a Sports Center update brought to you by Universal Windows Direct. The Cardinals currently in action as it's Game 4 of their 4-game set in Pittsburgh. They currently lead it 5-3 as they just closed out the bottom of the 6th inning. We'll keep you updated on the Cardinals score throughout the day today here on 101 ESPN. This Sports Center update was brought to you by Universal Windows Direct. You'll be saying, I love my windows.
I always think it's worthwhile when you have one of the best players in franchise history doing media to hear his impression of the current team. Albert Pujols was on MLB Network yesterday, Alex, as Nathan Church made the catch in left field, and he talked about how impressed he was with Nathan Church and the play that he made and just overall what this Cardinals team has been. And then this morning, he went on MLB Network Radio and gave his thoughts overall on how surprising it is that the Cardinals have had a quality start to the season. Here's the one, the only Albert Pujols on MLB Network Radio.
Well, I think, the talent was there in the minor league. I think, the energy that the young players getting the opportunity, they taking advantage of that. I think, they're putting the ball in play. They're playing great defense. And, that's why they're playing great, and you show him right there, Jordan Walker, having a great year. I think this is a guy that the Cardinals been waiting for a while and, having an outstanding year. But I think it goes back to the young players, playing with a high energy level. And, I think at the end of the day, their mentality is, hey, we don't have anything to lose. Let's go out there and play and have fun. And I think, that city needs it.
It's been awesome to watch. How much has your expectations for the Cardinals changed based upon what they have done in the first 30 and now potentially the first 31 games of the season, Alex? It's possible they come home tomorrow playing against the LA Dodgers and they're 18-13 through the first 31 games. How much does that change your expectations?
Doesn't change any of my expectations because I still look at the team as a rebuilding team. I think the expectations shift in terms of I don't believe you're a 100-loss team anymore. And maybe at the time when we were talking about that, it was a little outlandish thinking they were going to be that bad. But I thought the offense was going to be bad, which is the reason I thought this team was going to be losing a lot of baseball games. So, my expectations have always been you're not a playoff team and you don't need to be a playoff team right now. Maybe they sneak in, which will surprise me. But my expectations is always this team is going to be competitive. Hopefully they get entertaining players. But you're going to fall short of a playoff spot, and then you're going to continue the process moving forward.
If you had to project a win-loss record today for where you think the Cardinals end up, how many games do you think the Cardinals win this year?
I'd say I'd say 82.
I think they go 82 and 80.
Yeah. Because I do think there's going to be a slump coming, and that slump will push you back a little bit. I don't know when, and I could keep saying it, and it never happens, but you're going to go through a dry spell. You're going to deal with injuries. Your pitching is going to start to fall apart a little bit more, and then you have to wonder. But I think this team can get above 80 wins this season.
My God, JJ Wetherholt is on base again. It's every time that guy goes to the plate, he finds a way to get on.
The text line is asking us to please stop overreacting to this. It's still only 1 month into the season.
What do you mean?
Somebody's texted in and said, you guys are putting the cart before the horse. Can we please cop down? It's only a month in for this.
Are we talking about the team or Wetherholt?
No, Wetherholt.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't need to see any more. That guy's good.
I know.
Like, I don't know what the ultimate ceiling is. That guy's a really good baseball player.
What?
He's as good as Wally Moon.
That's right. Yeah.
I was being sarcastic. Sure. I'm not asking you to calm down about JJ Wetherholt. The text line is saying we're putting the cart before the horse.
T-Bone, what would you set as your current win total for the Cardinals this year?
76, I think.
That's where Fangraphs is. Fangraphs has them at 78, and they've got them with a 16% chance to make it to the postseason.
I think at the beginning of the season I said 75. 75 was where I was at because I thought they'd be closer to a 90-loss team.
Yeah, I thought if their offense was going to be bad, that they had a chance to lose 95 to 100, but I didn't know that it would be super bad. And I thought the pitching would be better, honestly, going into the year. I think 76 to 78 feels about right now. Because to Alex's point, when the offense, this is what I was bringing up earlier in the show, at some point the offense is going to go into a rut, and they just don't have the pitching to help overcome that. Because every game they win, they have to score 5+ runs. I don't think this 5-3 lead is safe. Maybe now. They're getting towards the back of their bullpen, so they might be fine. But
I never know with this bullpen.
I think when the offense goes cold, they don't have the pitching. To your question, though, has it changed your expectations? Not really for this year because the pitching's just not there. I do wonder what it means moving forward because I think they're already ahead of schedule. And I don't know how Heim's going to react to that. And that's what makes it interesting is I brought this up to you guys off air yesterday. I wonder if they would maybe consider an early splurge into free agency next year and go look at a starting pitcher. You get that first guy, and then you hope that the reinforcements come with Doyle, Matthews, Sanjup, hopefully, when you get those guys, Motts maybe as well. Because that's really the area that's going to keep them in the rebuild is the lack of pitching at the major league level. But their offense is ahead of schedule, right? I don't think any of us expected this. And this feels somewhat sustainable for them moving forward.
It reminds me a little bit of the Tigers from 2 years ago. Not last year, but 2 years ago, where the first half of the season, we were all like, whoa, wait, what? Are the Tigers interesting? And then they went through that dry spell, and then ultimately they had a really nice second half as well, and they ended up making it to the postseason. But early in that year, they were 18-13 through the first 31 games of the regular season, actually. And it's like, man, I don't think I believe in this. I don't think this team's any good. And ultimately, their front office told you, yeah, we don't either. Because they traded away Jack Flaherty at the trade deadline.
Yeah.
They decided to do what we've been talking about, where it's like, they signed Jack Flaherty to be an asset at the trade deadline, and then they utilized him as such, despite the fact that at the time, he had a 2.9 ERA, and they couldn't get really what they thought the ultimate price should be for him because of all of the injury stuff. You remember that was when the Yankees, the whole thing came out with them. But they had Tarik Skubal, and that's the thing that I do find to be a little different, but I don't want to get over my skis here, Alex.
That's what somebody's telling us.
What if you have the Tarik Skubal of hitters with Jordan Walker, right? What if you have a guy that's just a superstar and it happened quicker than you expected? It kind of came out of nowhere, but maybe he's your stud, and then your Riley Green is JJ Wetherholt's. And so you have two legit boppers in the middle or top of your lineup, and then you supplement that with Ivan Herrera and Alec Burleson and potentially Lars Nootbaar when he returns, and you've got Mason Wynn, and the lineup looks really interesting quicker than you would expect. And that might be able to make up for your lack of pitching that Detroit Tigers team had with a Tarik Skubal. I don't think it means anything once you get to the playoffs because you don't have the pitching to win there.
Yeah.
But to get to them, I don't know, man. You might be able to be the 2024 Tigers.
I think you
they won 86 games.
I think you can be talking about playoffs now because everybody else is underwhelmed in the National League. We're talking about the Phillies being awful and the Mets being awful. Those are two teams that I assumed were going to take up some of those playoff spots. So at the beginning of the season, we were talking about one spot in the postseason. These teams have underwhelmed, And so that provides the opportunity. Next season, I could be singing a different tune because the National League could be stronger than what it is right now. You could have these teams figuring out their issues and become better. So that's why, like, the National League is allowing you to kind of play with the option of being a playoff team and not being a playoff team. I'm all with you in terms of those hitters. If Wetherholt's one of those pieces and Walker's one of these pieces, maybe Lars Nootbaar comes back and he rediscovers who he was a few years ago. Maybe Joshua Baez goes on a tear the rest of the way. Or maybe you find another diamond in the rough when it comes to the draft in this upcoming draft. There's a real possibility you have finally found the hitters to accelerate this rebuild. But to me, it doesn't mean all of a sudden you've shortened the length of when this rebuild is. I still think you're on a path that you need to address properly, which is why, like, when we get to the trade deadline, whether you're holding down one of those wild card spots or you're out of it, if somebody's willing to pay me Godfather offers or give me really good offers for Dustin May and Riley O'Brien, you got to trade them. Because it's a rebuild, and what you do in rebuilds is you bring in as many assets as possible so that you have as many outs as possible to find those guys to put together a winning lineup.
Alongside Alex and T-Bone on BK, it's BK and Ferrario here on 101 ESPN. We'll hit the rewind coming up next here on BK and Ferrario. Alongside Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. If you guys missed anything from today's show, I'm not going to lie to you. It was very up and down. You can check it out at the podcast page, 101ESPN.com. The free 101 ESPN app is where you go to find it. It's all sponsored by
Schaefer Door Company.
You couldn't let him trash the show like
It was
that.
up and down because he was a
correct.
He was
It was
a
my
monkey all day
performance that
today.
was up and down. It's not you guys. You guys were. Alex was great.
He just didn't like he was wrong a lot.
Yeah, well, he had to like get aggressive with all of his
know.
numbers and information the whole show.
I thought
Of the people he was defending in the show, Justin Brule was the guy. Imagine living on that island.
Justin Brule did not allow a run today.
No,
Oh, come on. Come on. I know what the
Zero
stat line
earned
says.
runs.
What's the rule of a bullpen arm?
That
To
was-
not allow inherited
That was
runners
the
to
equivalent
score.
of me last week when I told you that the Cardinals hadn't played a team above 500, and you were like, well, that's not true.
Well, I'm looking at his line. It was two-thirds of an inning, allowed one hit, 0 earned runs, no walks, no strikeouts, got out of a clean inning. inning.
No.
How many runs scored when he was on the mound,
What we
though?
don't see
None
in
of
the
them
old
were
box score is the inherited runner.
How many runs scored when he was on the mound?
Doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't matter.
2/3 of an inning, 1 hit, did not allow
He
an
entered
earned
the
run.
game 5-1. He left 5-3.
There were 2 runs that crossed home plate when he had the baseball in his hand.
All I know is that his ERA improved today.
That's why we shouldn't trust ERA for bullpen arms.
Okay.
See,
Well,
this
that's
is
what
why
you argued against him earlier today.
No, my argument against him was he's not good.
This is why the show had ups and downs. The ups were when Tanner and I were like calm, cool, and collected. The downs were when BK decided to
To be
get
fair,
Tony.
Alex was calm, cool, and collected from the moment that we came on the air.
Yeah, I haven't lost it once.
T-Bone was not.
Oh, T-Bone was not having your shenanigans today.
T-Bone said 2 things to me when he walked through the door today, Alex. You weren't here yet, but T-Bone,
this
when
will
he
be
got
good.
in, I said, "Hey, man, how you doing?" He said, "Hanging in there. Ready for the weekend."
T-Bone, you need some of my medicine?
I don't even know why I said I'm ready for the weekend. I got to work all weekend.
I was like, "Yeah, man, I get it."
You ready for my medicine, man? It helps.
No, I don't think I'm that anxious.
You sound like you're getting some of that anger streak that I usually have.
Man, it just only lasts for 3 hours, and I go home by myself, and I'm good.
Dude, yeah.
Don't worry, man. We got a Redbird report today, so we got another hour.
God, it used to be that way, man. I'd have to leave here.
And
I'd
you're
have
like,
to sit in my car for like an hour and be like, I just need to calm down because I want to break
I mean,
something.
you know, the moment that'll really get me is when I'm like podcasting, and I hear BK as he leaves to go get his lunch. Chop, chop.
He says chop, chop to you.
I've never once said that to him. Not once. That's a lie.
You say chop? That's the equivalent of snapping at somebody and telling them to go.
No, I say hurry up.
That's even worse. Oh my God.
I'm sorry, I made him look better when I said it.
God. I would not be able to do that. You say chop, chop to me, we've got
No,
problems.
I've never said that. I say hurry up. It's time to do the pod.
Yeah. While he's eating.
The other day when I was trying to get my daughter into the bathtub to get her ready for bed because the whole time at dinner she was complaining about being tired, I like looked at her and I said, "You need to get in the bathtub now." She goes, "Daddy, why are you getting so angry?" I'm like, oh my God.
Dr. Xander said I'm dead serious in saying that BK should be a politician. I
already hate you enough. I don't know if you have to do that. Typically, I like you hate them more.
Politicians, generally speaking, are supposed to be likable. Now, not all of them are, but that's a big part of getting elected is likability. And I don't know if you guys are familiar with our text line, but that's not my
hate meter
forte.
Always like rises when I see different politicians, and then like, mine's already full with you, dude. Like, I don't know if it could go any further.
Alex, you're off tomorrow?
I am off tomorrow. My daughter has her first field day at school, and there were parents that were invited, and I was like, man, I want to go do this. She'd get a kick out of it.
You're leaving me and T-Bone without you?
Who's is Eric running the board?
I'm running the board.
Oh my God!
Oh, it's just the 2 of us in the tournament. 2 men enter, 1 will leave.
Cage match.
1 man, 1 boy.
He's gonna tell you tomorrow. Hey, chop chop.
I know. Yeah.
Somebody said make haste.
You guys, man, like. I think hockey season provides like the calmness for you two because like you
Well, we
don't get as
typically
fired
agree
up.
during the hockey season.
When this season begins, man, like
The weird thing is like I think for the most part we agree
I don't think so.
on baseball.
Not after today's show.
No, I think we do for the most part. The nice thing about T-Bone is, man, sometimes I don't know which direction he's going to go. Like, man, this is a guy that's been arguing for how long have we been doing the show together? 5 years now?
It's been a while.
Since I've known T-Bone, he's been arguing in favor of a salary cap. And today he argued the other side.
No, well,
and I was like, all right.
He did the devil's advocate.
I will say, it was a respectable opinion. I understood where he was coming from. I disagree with it.
You really pissed him off on that
But
segment.
I respect the fact that he was willing, able, and provided a pretty good argument on the other side of it. It made me rethink my side of it. It made me, like, I now feel even more firm in my side because I was able to be like, you know what, that does make me think. And yeah, I think this is why I'm on that side.
That's why conversations don't go well with you, man. Because, like, if somebody tries to provide a point, you just are like, oh, yeah, you made me think that my point's even more correct. Like, there's not even a conversation to be had.
See, I don't, maybe I'm alone in That's the kind of conversation that I prefer. I want somebody
Where you get to feel like you're right more.
You just feel like you're right more? Like, I like conversations where there's no open-ended
I thought I was right, but now I
conversation.
really think I'm right.
I like conversations where at least
You're right.
somebody's willing,
I am the best.
somebody's willing to listen to my opinion on why I think this is the right way.
All right, I can acknowledge that
Yours
sounded
is
really
just
bad.
shut it down the moment they open their mouth.
What I was trying to say, and I don't know if this is going to make it
Well,
sound better or
actually,
worse.
if you look it up, that's actually incorrect, and here's why. Let me answer for 5 minutes and then give you your stance.
What I meant by what I was saying, oh my God.
Yeah, the bullpen. This is a
JoJo Romero
save.
just gave up a
I think that
bomb.
just hit somebody.
To be fair, Brill didn't do that.
Nope.
Well, Justin Brill never gives up hard hit for
Exactly.
baseballs. He only gives up
Rarely.
soft contact.
Happens occasionally, but
when it's
rare.
on the mound, it's only soft contact.
I like when people challenge my opinion and make me think. Whatever it is, like whether it's political or if it is
I could not get into
baseball,
one of those.
hockey, whatever it is, like I like when people challenge me and then I have to revisit my own opinion. And sometimes I acknowledge like, hey man, I'm dead ass wrong on this. Like you've got a really good point there and I'm folding my hand. I've got nothing. You're right. And I thought I had a good opinion here, but I actually don't have any retort for what you're saying. A lot of the time, though, I come back and I'm like,
You always find a retort.
you make a really good point there. Here is how I personally view it, though. And I enjoy those conversations. It's kind of the basis of our show, if we're being real.
Yeah, the basis of our show. Find a way to
So did you enjoy when I just said Brill's bad, he shouldn't be in the bullpen?
What my
Yeah,
dad
it made me revisit it, and I'm like, I disagree. I think there's some value here.
what my dad used to do is he used to find ways to just piss people off at certain events. He's like, I'm going to find a way to get under this person's skin. I truly believe that's what Brandon Kiley wakes up every morning to do.
Man,
I wonder how I can piss off Alex or T-Bone today.
I think it would make a lot more sense if that was true. I don't wake up that
That's
way.
even more
I wake up thinking to
frustrating.
myself, I can't wait to do this show because I really,
Why we
truly
need a
enjoy
square
doing
bottle.
I just don't use the
Bad,
word.
bad PK.
I don't use the word wait. Just like I can't do the show today. That's what I wake up and roll over with.
it. He's Alex. That's T-Bone. I'm BK. Alex out tomorrow. If you want to hear more of him, though, you can check out the latest edition of the Last Minute Blues podcast. It's available for you at youtube.com/101 ESPN STL. Later on this afternoon, there will be a new edition of the Redbird Report. T-Bone and I going from here to there to record that. It'll
long
be
as it goes
available for
fast
you
enough.
at
I'm going.
youtube.com/101
Get your job done
ESPN
faster, Tanner.
STL. If you guys missed any of the show, check out the podcast page. Don't forget to download and subscribe to that podcast as well. Coming up next, it's the Fast Lane here on 101 ESPN.